I'm going to put in some, like, dramatic music. Gentlemen, I have brought you in because you're the foremost experts in your field. Sign these documents stating that you're not allowed to say anything, or we will release that you touched children. All right.
It's just probe clause down at the bottom.
Hoorah.
I have brought you in. The president needs advisors on a coming alien invasion. Approximately 2 hours ago, our satellites picked up imagery. No one can really understand it, so we're just going to tell you what it says. It says that these comets are slowing down. We only have one belief. It's aliens. So we need your advice. You need to prep how you are going to stop this invasion and brief it to the president through the art of reviewing movies.
This is like a mystery science
Reset.
theater opener, you know? This is good shit.
Fourth wall breaking. Love it.
I will refer to myself in the third person. Shane, what movie have you presented?
Do you want to introduce the people on the fucking podcast or no?
Fuck you. Your Honor, I bring Independence Day as Exhibit A. Ronnie.
Hi, I'm Ronnie. I'm the cantankerous bitch of the podcast, and I bring my sacrifice of the film Arrival to the war room.
Of course you bring some hippy-dippy bullshit to this.
You've seen my hair.
And of course, Korey. Welcome.
Hello, this is Korey from Big Dumb Movie. I am bringing Edge of Tomorrow to the table today.
Good. You guys have brought your war face, other than Ronnie.
I think we're also missing another person. Shane, what happened to our fourth member, second guest?
I didn't want to bring it up, but the aliens got to him before we could get him.
Ah, too bad, man. The man with the shittiest audio will not be joining us today. What a shame.
Yes, unfortunately, it won't sound like every news interview during COVID, where even Fox News has Zoom calls.
Sorry, Hobo Dan. R.I.P.
Yeah. The aliens, unfortunately, won't let him zoom in. So.
Too much probing. Okay, Shane, what are we doing here?
So, once again, welcome to the Waste Potential Podcast. This episode, we're going to be reviewing alien invasion movies, or First Contact, kind of. More invasion. This was brought on mostly because every July 4th I go, oh, fuck, I need to do Independence Day. And then I watch Independence Day and I go, why do I do this to myself?
Oh, yeah. I know that feeling so well, dude. It's like, yeah, it's the 4th of July. Time to get, like, patriotic. I put on Independence Day and I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ.
God, I hate America.
This movie sucks.
Every year for 4th of July, my mother-in-law goes, oh, it's Independence Day. We get to watch Independence Day. And I just, grind my teeth the entire time. Because, people put movies on in the background kind of for Christmas and holidays, so you can kind of half watch it. And it's always the scene, whenever Will Smith is on the screen, I just look over and I'm like, at least he's having fun.
We'll talk about it, but yeah, there's a lot of problems. But I will say, I originally was going to choose Battle Los Angeles and with Aaron Eckhart, because no one knows of this movie. And then they kind of see the cover and they're like, wait, I've seen that somewhere before. And you're like, yes. And then I watched it, and I was like, there's nothing to talk about. This is just a Marine recruiting video for 2 hours.
Good Wednesday morning, 94.5 with the Surf Rider Morning Surf Report.
Morning, Staff Sergeant! Staff Sergeant!
We now know that meteors will land off the coast of
They
different
gotta be
cities.
parallel to the deck. That's the whole thing with these bars.
Come on, you guys, you're killing me. Good luck, rookie.
A small cluster of meteors is predicted to enter our atmosphere.
Scientists are scrambling to try and understand it.
Evacuations are now underway.
2 or 3 meteors just impacted. Oh my god. It appears that there's something like shadowy figures. I think I'm gonna head back now. Everyone needs to get out of here right now. Lucas, if you could just come back, please. Oh my god.
you invade a place for its resources, you wipe out the indigenous population. Right now, we are being colonized.
What the hell is that thing?
Oh my God.
You will be a weapon. You will be a minister of death, praying for war. But until that day, you are pukes. You are the lowest form of life on Earth. You are not even human fucking beings. You are nothing but unorganized, grabastic pieces of amphibian shit.
So, like, then I was like, okay, Independence Day it is. And I watched Independence Day and I go, I should have done Battle Los Angeles.
Another regret down the drain with Independence Day, you know? That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's a regret movie through and through.
Yeah. At least I can talk about more with Independence Day. Battle Los Angeles, I would have talked about it for like 10 minutes and be like, and that, rinse, dry, repeat for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Join the Marines.
Independence Day has a... So goddamn... Ironically, it's the longest movie we've watched for this podcast today. And it's got the most going on, but also the least going on here. Okay. For the uninitiated, Shane, do you want to give a brief synopsis of Independence Day? Maybe we can... I don't know how you want to do this. Go by scene, or just talk about main kind of areas that you like or hate or whatever.
I'll give just my brief synopsis of it, and then we'll go in. Independence Day.
Sir, I think you should listen to this.
This better not be another damn Russian spy job. Boys from air traffic red say the skies are clear.
It's the real thing. A radio signal from another world.
President, our intelligence tells us the object is settled into a stationary orbit. Part of it is broken off into nearly 36 other pieces, smaller than the whole, sir. Yet over 15 miles in width themselves.
Where are they heading?
They should be entering our atmosphere within the next 25 minutes.
Earthquake!
Let's just get there as quickly as
What's
possible.
the rush, huh? Think we'll get to Washington and won't be there?
It is confirmed. The unexplained phenomenon is headed for Moscow.
It's like a chess. First, they're positioning their pieces using this one signal to synchronize their efforts. And then what? Checkmate.
God.
I really don't think they flew 90 billion light years to start a fight.
God, I hope they bring back Elvis.
There's gonna be a lot of frightened people out there.
Yeah. I'm one of them.
Something you want to add to this briefing, Captain Hiller?
No, sir. I'm just a little anxious to get up there and whoop E.T.'s ass, that's all. Welcome to Earth.
Is a Roland Emmerich film, so I should tell you everything you need to know about it.
Yeah.
It's American, oddly Jewish.
Oh my God.
And it's about aliens have arrived on Earth, and President Lone Star approval rating is down. For some reason, he seems like a very likable president. I don't know why he'd be so down, but
they say
aliens,
he's like weak, right? They say like the people don't believe you're strong or whatever.
Yeah, because you talk to people and make compromises.
We elected
which actually might work.
They elected a soldier and got a dementia old man, they said. I can't remember what they said about him.
You suck, you jackass.
Welcome to Earth.
I don't know. But so aliens come, no one knows what's going on except Jeff Goldblum, who is the smartest man ever, but he works as a cable guy for a news network. But he's tied in because his ex-wife works directly with the president, but he punched the president at some point because he thought he was sleeping with his wife. This is all unnecessary. The aliens turn out to not be nice. Jeff Goldblum knew all along. But they start blowing up the world. We can't stop them because their shields are too strong, so we summon the Gungans to bring down their shields.
We should have talked about the Phantom Menace instead. Oh my God.
Starting up the shield!
That's an invasion movie.
That is an invasion movie. We invade them with bureaucracy.
And donut-shaped starships.
And a trade federation that blocks trade. So the aliens are bad. We find out that Area 51 was a thing. For some reason, the Secretary of Defense knows about it, but the president doesn't. Whatever. Will Smith shows up as the best pilot to ever pilot, except he didn't get accepted into NASA, probably because of racism. And then...
where was affirmative action when he applied to NASA?
Right? So,
Yep, 97.
Long story short, Jeff Goldblum decides that he can create a virus that communicates with the aliens, and Will Smith knows how to pilot an alien aircraft. They go, they infect it, they blow up the thing, big dogfight with F-18s takes hold. Randy Quaid's there.
Oh, you forgot about Randy Quaid.
Hi, I'm Randy Quaid, and this is my wife, Evie. I help media giants News Corp and Warner Brothers Entertainment earn well over $1 billion for the films Independence Day and Christmas Vacation. What did I get in return? Stole my house. Continues to smear me to high heaven with a pack of lies. No, for real. Hashtag PMC. Police media corruption. So how do we retaliate? Well, I still have a few tricks too. This is the very same shirt that I wore in ID 4 when I saved the world. Maybe you'll thank me for this.
Use the Force, Luke. Let go.
The Force is strong in this way.
Luke, trust me.
You suck, you jackass.
Randy Quaid rams himself into the alien spacecraft, bringing it down. Big heroic moment. Bill Pullman gives a big speech that everyone knows. And then it ends with everyone coming together and world peace.
Forgot about the stripper and the dead wife. You forgot about everything. And the dog. Don't forget the dog.
There's a lot of in-between that doesn't matter at all, but we have it. Oh, also the chick from the president from Battlestar Galactica is the president's wife in this.
Hell yeah, dude. Mary McDonnell, I think is her name. She's awesome.
She doesn't do much, but she's there.
But she's great on her own, you know?
Yeah.
Independent of Independence Day.
And we get this big blockbuster film, which has moments of like, fuck yeah, and moments of, what? But, Independence Day.
Independence Day. I want to say a couple things. Actually, I want to start with a question for you guys.
He's already
because I think I'm older than you guys, like, significantly. I can never remember. I'm usually the older one on any given podcast. Do you guys remember when this movie came out?
No.
I saw it in theaters. I stood in line with my dad to see it. I was probably, like, 7, I think? Because it's what, 98?
1996.
96. Oh, so I was like 5.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So you were like the same age as Buckwheat in this movie, like Will Smith's son?
Yeah. Yeah, and I just remember it kicking ass. I was 5, so. But yeah, I remember standing in line to see it, and then seeing it, I remember it being like blowing my mind.
What about you, Ronnie?
But
this is a home video movie for me. I remember renting it, and I think everyone, I guess in this era of like mid 90s, like early 2000s, everyone likes this movie, at least for me, until you grow up and you're like, oh.
Well, everyone likes it because it does have some very iconic moments, like the White House blowing up. That's what everyone remembers, and they remember "Welcome to Earth."
I sure do.
But it's got a lot of fun moments, but like once you sit down and put it all together, it's a disaster.
Korey, you had a question?
Disaster movie. Korey, when did you see it?
Well, I saw this when it first came out, and just like you, Shane, it was like the most epic movie ever at the time. It was huge. It made a ton of money. Everyone loved this movie when it came out, it seemed like. And like you said, mostly known for its big iconic moments were just They were all over the trailers. But also, the thing that I think still works for this movie is that it has some really memorable characters. Not Will Smith, because he's just 90s Will Smith, and he's always the same.
Yeah, he's out of place.
And he's lame. But Randy Quaid is like a very memorable, perfect character for this movie. He's just like a lunatic. He's like the proto real life Randy Quaid, like what he became, you know? Like
I'm definitely inserting him possibly in a hotel room talking to the camera.
He's basically just Uncle Eddie. He plays the same character always is. The only other role I remember him in is Kingpin, and he plays the Amish dude.
That was an epic movie as well. I love that shit. But also, fucking Brent Spiner as the crazy scientist guy. You know, he's like been in this lab in Area 51 for like 20 years. You feel like he's never been let out, like he's never seen sunlight.
Wow. What a pleasure. As you can imagine, they don't let us out much.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? I can understand that.
And he's just like completely lost in his work. I love him in this movie.
Yeah.
The problem is...
And he's like unfazed that these aliens are here to kill us all. He's just like, yeah, this is amazing.
That makes sense, though, because like if you're locked... Like it's almost like Stockholm Syndrome, where you're basically kind of like you have all... You're like focused on one thing your entire life, so then when it actually comes down to Earth, you see like rolling. You're like, I don't really care what I was doing to humans. I'm live with aliens, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I like Bill Pullman's character too in this a lot. I think he does a very good job as a young president.
Young in like a cosmic sense?
I don't know. He's looking through the lens of now. He seems far too young to be a president.
Yeah, I know. With our current last few presidents,
yeah.
Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But he does a good president. He seems like he's in charge.
He has no personality, so he's probably a really good president.
Yeah.
Like he has no energy. He has like he's like a pragmatist. He's like, I want to get more information. Bitch, it's gonna blow up in 8 minutes. Like, so like, well, I need more information to figure out what to do. I'm like, well, you're shit out of luck. He's not a strong leader, though. He doesn't like to make decisions.
Mr. President.
Yeah, that is me.
Pollution in Springfield has reached crisis levels.
Ugh, I hate this job. Everything's crisis this and end of the world that. Nobody opens with a joke. I miss Danny DeVito.
So here is our chance to kick some ass for Mother Earth. You don't even want to read them first?
I was elected to lead, not to read.
Really?
Can we talk about Will Smith? Because, like, he's kind of a weird character in this. Like, I feel like he was an afterthought. Where, like, we need an A-list, like, pizzazz. And so they're like, why not Will Smith? And then his character was just written in because he doesn't act appropriately.
He acts like Will Smith.
His character is not integral to the plot. He's just kind of like bringing broad.
He really is, though. He's the only one who can fly that spaceship that he watched maneuver for
Why?
10 minutes. Because he says so, god damn it.
Like, any of those scientists that have worked on it for years could have flown that fucker, too.
You've seen them? Nerds can't fly.
Step aside, nerd. Will Smith puts on his sunglasses. I can fly this bitch. Welcome to Earth.
I know.
Who's got a cock-sized cigar I can smoke? Who's got one?
He's got a napkin that says forward, reversed, and start. like it's so bad. And I'm like, okay, if we're going to have that character, I would have replaced him with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think that would have been way more fun. And I would have looked past a lot more. If he's just like, fuck you, alien, and he just punches it in the face. Like,
I've seen you before. You're the asshole on TV.
Right? Wrong.
I don't know. Because Will Smith is too cocky. He's too unfazed. He's never seen an alien in his life before, and he's just like, I'm going to kick some alien ass. And you're like, what? Like,
And like his scene where he confronts it and he like punches it out is dumb, right? And it's meant to be like fun and a big trailer moment, but like what they explain like shortly after is like that's the alien's armor. Like imagine punching a man in the helmet. Like it's basically that.
battle armor. Yeah, and it's like they're exoskeletons, so like you assume it's strong and hardy. Why would he be able to knock it out for that long?
Here's a question I want to kind of, I guess, throw in since you mentioned the battle armor there. Korey, what's your, like, I guess I'm going to steal a big dumb movie idea. What's your, like, rating on any scale of, like, this design of Alien?
I actually really like this design of Alien because they took, like, what's kind of the public idea of Roswell aliens, which do play a part in this movie, like the little green men type of alien, little guys with a big head, no mouth, big eyes, right? Yep. They took that and they said, well, how do we make it like a little bit more threatening and like more, I don't know, something that would be better as a toy, which I love the Independence Day toys, by the way. Some of my favorite toys of all time are the aliens from Independence Day. I still have some in the box.
What did they come with, like the toys themselves?
Dude, they come with a fucking floppy disk. And this, because it's like a floppy disk that's like only compatible for like Windows 95. You plug in this floppy disk and each alien has like a different little game that you would play on your computer.
That's fucking
And I remember them being like very confusing.
shit.
Like you had to like do some like mix and match the alien eggs. They're not like Resident Evil 4, right? They're not like big games, but it's pretty fun for the time. So it's funny to like buy one now. Like if I go to like retro toy stores and get one and it has a little floppy disk inside, it just kind of dates it in a very beautiful way. But I like the big alien armor with the tentacles, and you know I'm a big fan of hentai, so that's another reason.
This is a side note. This is a side note.
I'm just gonna throw it out there for any of the hentai fans.
Yeah,
where they at? No, I agree with Korey. These aliens kick ass. They look cool. Their spacecraft is cool. Their ships are cool. Their weaponry is cool, and they're scary. They're big. The tentacles grab things. They like have the reverse knees that they always do for aliens, where their knees go backwards and it's creepy. I like the battle armor idea. That was a good idea to be like, they're not intimidating, but when they put on their armor, they're a problem. I do wish that, I don't know why they did it. Maybe it was, God forbid, budgetary restrictions. I don't know. They didn't do land battles with these aliens. It was all in the air, which makes sense for me that their first strike would be aerial. And then they show like, oh, they're prepping for an invasion. But I think it would have been fun to have a land component, like aliens going through the street, shooting people, and like a little bit of gunfight. But
I think that's the whole
maybe
point,
that's the Battle Los Angeles in me coming out.
Yeah, well, that's also a good question, is why bother having battle armor if you're not going to engage on like, hand-to-hand combat?
Yeah, and why would they wear their battle armor in their spaceships?
Unless you're expecting like a hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
There are things about this movie that don't make sense. It's true.
No, but like for me, like that shit's just fun to make fun of, but like people love this movie. So what I'm getting the consensus is we think this movie sucks. So, but how do you explain this movie sucks? And I think it's really complicated. Like I don't think it's so simple as it's dumb, because it's dumb, but a lot of entertaining movies are dumb. Like
this movie is the epitome of July 4th. It is a hot dog. When you think about a hot dog, you go, God damn, hot dogs taste good. But then if you start to think about what a hot dog is, you start to think how it's made, what goes into this hot dog, you start to just shiver and go, oh, dear God. and so your best bet is to just eat the hot dog and enjoy the taste and don't think too hard on it.
I mean, it's kind of a cool concept for the time too. Like a lot of the way they approached this alien invasion with integrating modern technology as a component as to how like aliens are discovering us and attacking us and like shutting down our communications, things like that. And I like the idea of the flying saucers not being these little flying saucers that are like the size of cars, which is more like the 50s era sci-fi type aliens, right? Giant flying saucers that are like, they cover an entire city. That's a really scary notion. Just the concept of like how big their ships are. And the fact that they just show up and they just kind of like loom over for a while and we don't know what to make of them. Like it's a pretty scary thought. The execution in this movie doesn't play it super well, but we do get those big moments, right? The big moments of destruction. And I gotta say, you know, I love this old school style of special effects. What do you think, Ronnie, about like those kinds of special effects with the models?
I think it's like the best way to do it because it's the human eye detects fake pretty easily, but like the models blend something that's physical that we can understand with our eyes that doesn't look automatically fake. Then you add the beam of light is okay. That's the more CGI kind of thing like that. I think that's what like the best way to do it is that a combination of both. I know nowadays, like for example, Marvel movies, you kind of forget you're watching special effects because you're just kind of into the whole spectacle. But there is always those moments where it takes you out of it. But like, I can't fault this movie for visual effects. Like they're like some of them are very 90s, like when Will Smith and the alien are flying. But I'm like, that's of its time. I don't get hung up on those kind of things. But I like them a lot. The models and then putting in the other CGI kind of stuff.
I only remember the only special effects in this that I went, wow, that looks bad, was when the dog jumps in the tunnel.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh God. And I was like sitting there and I was just like, I was a little intoxicated, but I was like, what is happening? Why? Why is there a dog?
Is that how you sound?
Why are we chasing it? Why do we care? And it's just to be like, so the audience can go, no, not the dog.
It literally was
cheer
that
when
too.
It makes
like
it.
that was
Yeah.
literally why they did that.
And that's why
That's all that's there for.
That's why I hate this movie because it's like the common denominator of everything. The only thing this movie is missing is a pregnant woman. Like it has every like cliche and thing to like draw you in: patriotism, military, alien explosion, eradication, silly quips, silly character who's like who does gay jokes, who sings.
Goose
child,
dies.
A stripper.
Goose dies.
Goose dies. The fucking president's ordering people. There's a slimy weasel in the White House giving them bad orders. There's that one guy who's always a general, sitting with his gruff voice. Like it's just everything in there. You got
Robert
Judd Hirsch
Loggia.
being, you have Judd Hirsch being Jewish in there. You have Jeff Goldblum being a sexy nerd. You have everything you need in a 90s movie to make it perfect, and it just feels like it's concocted to just piss me off and make everyone love it.
Well, you know what? You talk about Jeff Goldblum, which we haven't really talked about quite yet.
Mm.
He is the sexy nerd because when I was a kid and I saw this, I just thought he was like a nerd, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until I got older that I realized like he's actually like he exudes a lot of like sex appeal. Yeah, he's got glasses and he's like the Jeff Goldblum isms, which kind of make him nerdy inherently. But he's not like imagine if like that Brent Spiner character was in his place. It wouldn't quite work, right?
You can cut this, Shane, but Shane and I just did a podcast on The Fly, and we talked about the sexiness of that film, and then you get into Jurassic Park too.
So hot.
His chest is open, so like he is an invariant or maybe intentionally like sex symbol of the late 80s, early 90s.
Oh yeah, and a nerd in all three of these movies, right? Jurassic Park, The Fly, and this one.
Yep.
He's like a scientist in every one of these movies.
Yep.
This character is the same character he plays in The Fly that he plays in Jurassic Park. Like,
No. He's way cooler. Ian Malcolm is the epitome of awesomeness.
I would say that's that's his final form.
He's
Like,
the most like mythical creature of all time, the rock star scientist. It's not a real thing where he wears leather jackets and talks about chaos and gets laid.
I would let Jeff Goldblum rearrange my guts any day. That man exudes sexy and expensive. Wow. Jeez.
You can't find another actor that's quite like Jeff Goldblum.
No.
He will forever be his own person.
No, he's amazing.
Yeah,
But I don't think quite enough to save this movie.
Do you like his environmentalist nerdiness, or do you think it's a little grating?
It's like these characters were given something to give them character, but it feels bolted on. It doesn't feel natural because it doesn't really have any payoff. Like there's no message about the aliens can't drink our water because it's too polluted. Like there's no payoff to why he's an environmentalist. It's just like he needs something more for his character. Oh, he's a hippie. Like, I don't know. What do you think, Korey? Because all the characters have it. They all have this, like, bolted on thing to add character. But at least, like, the president's, like, bolted on is he was a Desert Storm pilot, which pays off because he flies the plane again, which is dumb, but he does it. Like, Goldblum's doesn't have a payoff.
Yeah, and we start to see a lot of the problems with this movie. I mean, Goldblum's presence, I think, is it's like nice to see, but maybe it's mostly because like now, like my grown appreciation for Jeff Goldblum. So like, you know, at the time, like I said, I kind of thought he was a nerd, and like Will Smith was the guy that I really wanted to see as a kid, right? Because I was like a Fresh Prince fan and stuff. So
who wasn't?
It's just,
was this before or after Men in Black?
Before, I think 98.
This was
before. Okay.
I think 1 year before. Yeah, I think next summer was Men in Black.
And then Wild Wild West was after Men in Black.
Check out our podcast on Wild Wild West. So you kind of mentioned this, Shane. You mentioned like his lack of a character arc, and this is when I was rewatching this. This is the scene that broke me, and I got mad at this movie because like this movie's like a benign tumor. Like it doesn't really bother me. Like I kind of just roll my eyes at it, but it's not like it's ruining a franchise or it's a bunch of characters I care about, so it doesn't really matter to me. But the scene that broke me was when Judge Hirsch. I'm getting Judge Nelson and Judd Hirsch confused, and they're so the same person, obviously. Okay.
Judge Reinhold.
There we go. Judge Judy, too. So Judd Hirsch is Jeff Goldblum's father, very Jewish. Mm-hmm. And they have a scene when after Jeff Goldblum's upset because they want to nuke the aliens and it's going to destroy the environment, which is definitely forgotten about. But Judd Hirsch tells him, hey, you got to have faith. And I was like, oh, maybe there's actually a deeper like theme in this movie that I've forgotten about that's going to like redeem this. And he immediately goes, oh, well, fuck it, you're going to catch a cold. And then that's the catalyst that like gives Jeff Goldblum the idea to send a malware virus to the aliens. And I was like, no, this is the scene where Judd Hirsch says, you got to have faith in things. I lost my faith when your mother died, but it's important to not give up on humanity even when they make mistakes. And then from there, like he says, oh, you know, they're like a virus spreading like locusts and we got to stop them. And he goes, like a virus? Then that clicks. But instead he says, you're going to catch a cold. I'm like, fuck you. This is terrible writing. It's like literally handed to you to connect a deeper theme to this. I wrote this in 10 seconds and it's better in this one scene at least. I'm like, this is better. Like, don't fucking talk down to me, goddammit. I'm not stupid.
David, you need your rest. Come on. Get off of this freezing concrete floor before you catch cold. Come on.
What'd you say?
You mean about faith? Well, you see, a man can leave his power.
Yeah, do it.
Come on. I don't want you to catch cold.
Oh, come on! And I was like, is this a War of the Worlds joke? Where we beat the aliens, spoiler alert, because they don't have immunity to our germs and bacteria? I was like, is he... Oh, it's a computer virus, because in the 90s, computers were the thing.
I've heard the word virus
yeah,
before.
And, you know, you're talking about faith, and this is the second time I had this thought during this podcast, but I think Signs might be a better movie.
I wrote this down because, like, the movie I had Signs vibes, but I think the movie I picked is better than Signs.
Signs is better in the fact that it's more atmospheric. Like, Signs is a good movie until the end, and then you're like, what the fuck?
Well, yeah, there are definitely things in Signs that don't make sense, like Independence Day, but at least it does maintain its intended theme of faith.
Yeah.
I don't know what is going on with Independence Day. It's just, like, dumb. I want to say it's like an action movie, but honestly, it's kind of a slog.
Yeah,
it's
and
loaded.
I was the best I could compare this to is the closest director I could find, and it's not a hard connection to make, is Michael Bay. When you deal with Roland Emmerich and Michael Bay, they're the same. But it pains me to say that when I think of Transformers, I think of a more coherent product than Independence Day.
How dare you?
I don't know, but I was like, at least I know what Megatron's after.
Before time began, there was the cube.
And like
a MacGuffin.
What the Transformers do. Yeah, like, but Independence Day, it's all like almost whispered, like, oh yeah, they're after water. And then it moves on. Like, it's like, what?
I was going to complain about that and saying, I like my alien movies to have like, to understand the aliens. Because, okay, well, my choice in movies like a hippy dippy, like, you know, whiny pussy movie compared to this. But then the movie that Korey picked, I was like, oh no, the aliens are just bad and I don't give a shit. I think it's just a different style and better movie making.
Edge of Tomorrow, which Korey picked,
yeah,
is Independence Day done correctly.
Well, it's not bloated like that movie. I don't want to jump ahead, but like this movie's just bloated. There's so many characters that could have been combined. I think the cool idea would be take Jeff Goldblum's character and make him the Brett Spiner character. He's working undercover secretly. He's known all along they were coming. He contacts the president. The president takes him to Area 51, and then Brent Spiner gets him the ship. Because that would make more sense, right? Because he would actually have a way of stopping the aliens, because, you know, he's spent 60 or 50, 40 years doing this. So I feel like you got to condense this, but I think that's the whole thing is Roland Emmerich likes his globe-trotting. He likes his big scale. He likes, this is a far-reaching movie, so it feels like it's important, but it's just stupid.
I think that brings us, because we could talk for hours about Independence Day, just because there's so much to break apart and dig in. Maybe one day we'll watch it and talk about it as we see it. But like, Korey, how would you fix Independence Day? You're given Independence Day, you gotta do some rewrites, you can recast, do whatever. What do you chop? What do you fix? How do you try to take what's there and make it better?
You know, I don't know off the top of my head. I'll say that one of the things that you keep in this movie that works really well is the destruction aspect, right? This pre 9/11 disaster movie, miniature destruction that Roland Emmerich liked to do a lot of and did successfully very few times, which is like the White House destruction, like all the big cities getting basically fucking nuked by these alien vessels. That has to stay. That does create some stakes.
Time's up.
That's the signal! Go, 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 go! Let's go freaking get here! Mother Nature just pissed her pants, dude!
It's basically everything else in this movie around it that I don't think is something you necessarily need to keep. Although there is a scene that I do like, and maybe we'll say this one's a keeper too, when they're actually in Area 51 and the alien that's being operated on like comes back to life. And it kills a room full of scientists. It's very like Spider-Man 2, right? With
I
Doc
thought the same
Octopus.
exact thing.
Yeah. The power of the sun.
No, I like that scene. It's like a good horror scene, but nothing else matches that in the rest of the film, unfortunately.
That's the thing too, right? Like, because that makes the aliens individually scary. And maybe have something like that a little bit earlier on, maybe like as the opener or something, because even the opening of this movie is like boring. And I hate to say that, and I'm surprised that, 10-year-old me was as interested in this movie as I was, because so much of it is just like boring with like the relationships that are largely unimportant to the story, right? Like Vivica A. Fox and Jeff Goldblum's relationship to his ex-wife. Like, these things can be removed. They largely don't matter. But keep some of the scary elements, keep some of the big like Showtime action elements with the miniatures. The spectacle has to stay.
Yeah. No, I like that. I kind of, with me, since this is what I picked, it's kind of my dog, I'll do it. I agree. You keep all the destruction, 100%. But what I would do is I'm just going to just start cutting and chopping this thing down. Like, because you could literally cut Vivica A. Fox's character and Will Smith completely out. Lose nothing from this film.
Racist.
I'd cut them out. I would cut Jeff Goldblum's dad. I would cut...
Racist.
Yeah, I'm literally cutting an hour out of this film. And I would change Jeff Goldblum from being a anchor, like working on satellites for a news company, to he was part of the Roswell research, but he was too, out there. So he's basically under an NDA, under guard at his home, under house arrest, and he's just out there, and he knows about these aliens, and he's been thinking about this. So it makes more sense that he's familiar with their shit when it comes time. And we stay with the president, and we're dealing, so it has this big scale because it's from the view of the United States president, and we stick with Bill Pullman, and we still keep the speech, I would even keep Randy Quaid, because I think that's a fun way to beat the aliens, where it's this crazy fucking probed American being like, I'm back, and just...
That's kind of a good moment.
And as stupid as it is that we have a bunch of Vietnam vets that are just drunk and like, oh yeah, I can fly it, even though they highly overestimate the general just because you have a pilot's license doesn't mean you can just hop into F-18 and be like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah, any piloting experience will do. And is there anyone here?
Is it better than Snakes on a Plane when Kenan Thompson has done video game simulators and he can land a plane?
Oh, because he played Top Gun on NES. You know what? I want to really quick just like zoom in on this moment with Randy Quaid. First of all, it's really funny that he says, I can fly, and then he says, I'm pilot.
Yep. I'm pilot.
That's really funny.
Anyone who can fly a plane would be useful.
I can fly. I'm pilot.
But also, Randy Quaid makes a little side note to the people there. He says, ever since I was abducted by aliens 20 years ago or however long ago, I've been wanting to get revenge on these guys, so I'm on board with this mission. And everyone looks at each other like, this guy's fucking crazy. He thinks he was abducted by... Motherfucker, there's aliens literally attacking
aliens.
Maybe it's time to believe this guy,
But was he abducted by these aliens specifically? What could these battle-hardened aliens learn from Randy fucking Quaid?
The effects of alcoholism on the brain.
Yeah.
We're all a sober society now because of conducting research on Randy Quaid's ass.
Yeah, they no longer have their form of synthahol after studying him.
I'll be drinking prune juice from now on.
Oh, man.
Okay, I have two questions.
I'd cut Randy Quaid's family. What's the fucking point of those people? They do nothing.
Why are they Hispanic?
It's for the ending Armageddon style payoff when they say your dad was the bravest man I ever knew or whatever.
Oh my god, they didn't even know Randy Quaid. Maybe he was drunk and accidentally ran into the laser.
You didn't even believe him that he was abducted by aliens.
My favorite, this is the thing I noticed this time for the first time, is that Randy Quaid got arrested for dumping pamphlets on City Hall once. I don't think I've ever noticed that before, but then when they get him out of jail, it's like, oh, that's why he was arrested. I don't know why I never pay attention because it's Independence Day. But I was just like, oh, it's hilarious. He somehow made pamphlets in 24 hours, or when he could figure that out and then dump them all over City Hall. It's hilarious.
Jesus Christ. This movie.
I have two questions. Shane,
Yeah.
You pick which one you want me to ask. My first question is, which Independence Day character do you think the other people in this podcast are? Or my other question would be, what would you do during this alien invasion? Like how would you handle it? Which one would you want me to do, and I'll set you up for it?
I can do both. Okay. Who do I think everyone is in this podcast? I would say that I'm torn between me being Randy Quaid or Will Smith, because Will Smith in that, not because I think I'm cool, but that I'm acting wildly inappropriate for the scenario that I'm in. or Randy Quaid because I'm just saying crazy shit constantly. They're like, oh, that's the drunk guy. I'm gonna say Korey's Jeff Goldblum.
Hell yeah.
Because he's the most prepared and is making sense. And yeah, I'm gonna go with that. And then Ronnie is Bill Pullman because he's doing his best and everyone's just saying you suck.
Good speeches though.
Hell of a speech.
Honestly, that speech still works for me. It's still kind of an all-timer, you know, top 10 movie speeches, whatever. That's got to be up there.
For sure. He delivers it. It's a simple speech, but he delivers it perfectly. It makes sense. The score swells perfectly. It's a good, iconic speech.
Activate the sparklers now.
What was the other one? How would I handle the alien invasion?
What would you be doing during an alien invasion?
Oh, what would I be doing? It looked pretty fun being in the desert with all the British people. Just like, you know, I don't know. If I just saw the White House get completely nuked and then all our F-18s flew and they couldn't do anything except hit a shield, it'd probably be under the same thing as my zombie apocalypse thing, where I'm just going to get a samurai sword and disappear into the wilderness. Just come what may.
Samurai Jack this shit.
Yeah, exactly. The Samurai Jack. Either I'll help or I'll die. You know, just see what happens.
Excellent. What about you, Korey? Who do you think the people in this podcast would be best personified as a character, and then what do you think you'd be doing during an alien invasion?
Well, you know, I can't give a better answer on the characters than Shane did. I mean, he's got them spot on, I think. But what I would be doing if there was like an alien invasion, right? It depends on the type of alien invasion. People be acting a fool in Arrival when there's like aliens that show up. So I don't think I'd be participating in that because everything seems on the level during that movie, but we'll talk about that movie later. This movie, things are not on the fucking level. The aliens are clearly evil, right? The aliens are blowing shit up. They're just like purely 100% violence, which I don't really understand because I feel like a superior intelligent race, like from another planet that has conquered like space travel, I don't think they would just show up and just want to kill everything. That's like smooth brain shit, you know? Like,
yeah.
So, but
you're thinking of more Battlefield Earth vibes.
Yeah.
Do you want?
But that's what they're about in this movie, and that's fine, I guess. So if they were doing this, honestly, like in reality, I would have one response, and that would be to drink a lot. That's all I would be doing. I would just be drinking. And I know it's kind of sad to say that, but it's true.
What's the fucking point, man? We're all doomed.
Welcome to the podcast. Okay.
Also, real quick,
Yeah.
quick side note for Independence Day. I just think it's hilarious that it's played like the whole world is just waiting for America to come up with a plan.
Well, it brings us into the next one where the problem is the whole world doesn't follow America's lead.
It's the Americans.
Yeah.
They want to start an offensive. About bloody time.
About time someone does something. What have we been doing?
Sipping tea and eating crumpets. Really quickly on my characters, I think Hobo Dan would be Randy Quaid. I don't know how the fuck you missed that up there.
Oh,
Shane,
yeah.
Obviously.
He's dead, so.
He's dead, though. I got him already. Korey's actually Brent Spiner. He would definitely fuck those aliens. Like, come on. Hentai and everything.
Come here, boy.
I would be Vivica A. Fox because I'm stripping for the money for my kids. That's the most honest thing I can think of. And then Shane would still be Will Smith. You'd be my lover, and you would be just like talking shit.
I give you a shitty ass wedding ring.
Yep, you give me a dolphin wedding ring, or probably Free Willy wedding ring, and you'd be like talking wise and be like, "Oh yeah, I confidently can do all this shit." That's totally you.
We didn't even talk about his friend, which is like
Harry Connick Jr., who's also
what
in
are you doing here?
Iron Giant.
Oh yeah,
he plays Dean in the Iron Giant.
If only we were covering the Iron Giant too.
If only we were. It's not like we were supposed to, and then some homeless person got butt abducted by the aliens.
Classic butt abduction.
Shane, anything else to add to Independence Day?
Keep it in your memories. Don't revisit it. It's like a relationship. Just remember the good times.
Fuck that. You're all going to watch it in 2 days. We're recording this on the 2nd of July. You're all going to be fucking watching it, eating your hot dogs.
Well, remember, this is our Independence Day.
I do think that is a great place to keep this movie. Keep it in your brain and just lock it away.
It's just lock it deep and let the good memories leak out.
I say keep watching it so that Roland Emmerich will be like, I made one movie that people care about and that everyone forgot about The Day After Tomorrow and 10,000 BC and White House Down and 2001 Space Oddity. We remade. What's that one called?
That Space Oddity.
Yeah, Space Oddity.
God awful Godzilla movie he made.
Check out our podcast on Godzilla. What's the
That's another one that just keep that locked away. Just keep it deep in the. Oh, I wish Jean Reno was in this. He should have been the scientist. I'm like, ugh, you go to this cafe.
Speaking of foreigners, do you want to go to Arrival first, or do you want to go into Edge of Tomorrow?
Yeah, let's.
Are you eating on the goddamn podcast? I'm not editing this.
I'm
I don't
starving.
care. I don't care. I'm not editing it anymore. I quit. Okay. I'll wait for Shane to
listen to
fucking
any
swallow.
podcast where someone eats and someone calls them out. The person always says, "I'm hungry."
Right? That's
always their response.
I think our first 10 podcasts is just me yelling at Shane saying, "Oh wait, do I hear a fucking fork and a knife?"
You hear like a
I'm
bag
eating
of chips.
A full meal.
Oatmeal, yeah. I'm eating my
Maui onion.
I'm eating my my overnight grains or oats or whatever you fucking call them, you loser.
All right, let's head to our next movie, Arrival. Ronnie, you chose this film. What the fuck is this?
There are days that define your story beyond your life. Like the day they arrived.
Signs of what might be called first contact. The objects measure at least.
I'm Colonel G.T. Weber from Army Intelligence. Pack your bags. You're at the top of everyone's list when it comes to translations. Priority 1. What do they want? Where are they from? You'll be reporting to me, but you'll be working with him when you're in the show.
That's what they call him, the UFO.
Who's being carted off in the medevac?
Not everyone is wired for what you're about to do.
So what do they look like? You'll see soon enough.
Every 18 hours, a door opens up. That's where we go in.
Stop. Yeah, that just happened.
What happens now?
They arrive.
They need to see me.
Dr. Banks? Are you insane?
Now that's a proper introduction.
More objects have landed around the world.
This is one of 12. I'm never going to be able to speak their words.
Got 2 days. Figure something out.
I am human. It's their language. We need to make sure that they understand the difference between a weapon and a tool. Language is messy, and sometimes one can be both.
Are you dreaming in their language? It's possible they're prodding us to fight among ourselves.
This is just a way to force us to work together for once.
It's more complicated than that.
How is it more complicated?
Russia just executed one of their own to keep their secret.
Got 21 hours
Before they start global war.
So how do we clarify their intentions?
I go back in.
Well, does this feel worse?
Hello, I chose Arrival, 2016, Denis Villeneuve film. I love this film, but I wrote a snarky synopsis for all of you because I'm still an asshole. So, Arrival. It's a sad, reflective linguistics professor is asked to help communicate with aliens when 12 spacecrafts land on planet Panic. Saw Gerrera bugs the assistant from Talladega Nights to come work for freedom and try to translate with the aliens. I did that just for you, Korey.
Deception!
For the dream, or what does it say for the empire? What is it for? What is he yelling?
Before he dies?
Yeah.
The Jedi.
No, he says for the cause. I don't care. Hawkeye is
for the rebellion.
Hawkeye is here to play Ian Malcolm and to be sure and be the smart-ass scientist and provide his seed for the ending to happen. Spoilers. They approach the 2001 Space Odyssey monolith, go through all the basic COVID protocols, and figure out that all these aliens give the largest and best hand jobs in all of the galaxy. Communicating via Rorschach symbols and an Etch-a-Sketch, Lois Lane has to convince Uncle Sam and China who want to go nuclear like they're bratty fucking school children how learning works. Meanwhile, Fox News Freddy decides to go Oklahoma City bomber on the Squidbillies because prejudice, and China decides to do the same and the most China thing ever and threaten war against them. Marveland goes all traitor mode, meets the aliens, and figures out she can travel through time to stop baby Hitler. In the end, we all learn to get along. We learn that Jeremy Renner is an asshole and that the aliens are pro-life. That is the movie Arrival.
That's not the movie I saw.
What movie did you see?
You really took an amazing sci-fi movie and just really like spun it into this like funny pop culture reference word soup.
Hey, I pride myself on my terrible synopses. But yeah, all joking aside, I fucking love this movie. It's like one of my favorite movies of the past decade. But Korey, what are your thoughts on Arrival?
We had a podcast at Spoilers not too long ago on Battlefield Earth, right? The
hell yeah.
You know, the L. Ron Hubbard sci-fi novel turned into a movie starring John Travolta, famously bad. And on that podcast, I asked Stevie, he's like a really intelligent guy. I asked him what makes a good sci-fi movie, and he said cinematography. Mm-hmm. And that has stuck with me for a long time. Because when I see a great sci-fi movie, oftentimes I start to notice how amazing the cinematography is. Because, to put into my own words, cinematography is a vibe. And this movie has such an amazing vibe. The look of it is like just a thing of beauty. So that's the first thing I want to say about this movie. Like long sweeping shots, setting up a really great atmosphere, and of course accompanied by a great score. I think sci-fi movies need that too. So the first thing I notice about this movie is the tone that's set by those technical aspects.
For sure. I like that like the revelation is the aliens are obviously here for, pacifists or kind of, like for the greater good rationale, but the director like still keeps it ominous. It still wants us to feel like at any moment they could just be like, fuck you, and just like smack us down. So like the whole purpose is to get along. So like you obviously know that's not gonna be their thing, but like I love all just like those long shots of like the hallway when they're going up the monolith, and then then it gets longer because it's like this otherworldly thing where gravity flip-flops, and it's just like this full feeling of like, holy shit, you feel like these characters who are nervous. And then I think Amy Adams even says like how do you feel about this, that literally everyone is looking for us for the answers, just like this, all this pressure is put upon him, and then like the music and cinematography really just overscores this and really brings it across of like, this is a serious thing. It's not just some silly, like this is like the biggest thing that ever happened to humanity. It's a really big moment of just like, oh, it's fantabulous filmmaking.
Yeah. So when I watched Arrival, first of all, it's a good movie.
Here we go.
It fucked my day up. It ruined my day. I was so depressed. And like, it's just because like when you see someone that knows how to you're seeing how humans and especially like the government will react when this is all said and done. Now, I think the response would be bigger. It wouldn't just be like a small little base camp where random army captain could just fuck everything up. Like,
Yeah,
I
that
think
guy.
It might be a little more controlled than that. But at the same time, all the pieces of Arrival are like, you're just sitting there like, oh no, we're doomed. Like, because everything that we frame from a humor perspective is like a zero cost game, or zero sum game, where like they're like, oh, they haven't done anything violent yet. And it's like, okay, well, they seem to be talking to us.
For now.
When we talk to the Native Americans. And you're, okay, well, this isn't 1860. I hope we've come further. You know, like, apparently not.
We come in peace.
They came in peace.
Oh, this is already boring the shit out of me. Kill him!
So, like, all that kind of messed me up. But what Korey says about cinematography, it's absolutely true. When you think of best sci-fi, they're usually visually stunning. And this is Denis Villeneuve, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Denis Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve. His movies are always breathtaking. And especially it's like when he comes in, it's that helicopter shot. They're coming into Montana and those clouds are sweeping in. And you can tell, I'm like, man, I'm pretty sure that those clouds are natural. That's all just how that valley looks, and they just put a spaceship in it. And it's pretty incredible how he did that, because he films it in a way where you're like, is the spaceship, making all this dramatic scenery happen, or is this just natural Montana,
But
My exact thoughts when watching that scene. Well said.
Yeah, but that's the whole point of it. It all feels otherworldly. It's like literally the other world is coming to our planet and like infecting it with kind of like this weirdness. But once again, that also goes to the whole point of the movie, right? We're not so different. Like, we're literally different, but we're not so different. Like, there's parts of our own country or parts of our own world that still look otherworldly to us. Like, it doesn't even get into this, but like the whole idea of the ocean, the concept of like this things down there look otherworldly to us. That's the whole thing. It's a cycle. It's a circle. It all connects. We're all part of the circle of life.
Another point I like to make that Arrival does well is, I think another thing you have to add to a good sci-fi film, it has to be pretentious, but you can't feel that it's being pretentious because it's provoking serious thought. Like, the kind of core message in this is like language, and like how language affects how you interact, how you develop. It's like the key to all consciousness in a way, or the expression of consciousness.
The communication specifically.
Yeah, and like, so that's kind of its theme or thesis. And that's a very high-minded, like how they approach it, but they break it down very simply where you don't feel like they're insulting you. She is a little bit, but when she explains it, you're like, oh, yeah, like, what is what? Like, how do you coach an alien? And then you think about how would you interact with a human and, like, all these things. And, like, it's very heady and very upper level, but you don't feel like it's talking over your head.
I think it's...
And you kind of put yourself in the position, I think, of the Louise character, Amy Adams, who is basically tasked with figure out how to communicate with them, right? Because you can't help but think during this process, like, how would one communicate with an alien, right? Human language is one thing, but like when you first hear the aliens, it's just like these guttural roars.
Now that's a proper introduction.
And what do you do for that? And of course she comes up with the brilliant idea of written language, which I probably wouldn't have thought of, but the movie kind of progresses us in the direction that your brain would follow eventually, but it's like I feel like I'm always one step behind them in this movie, and it makes them obviously feel slightly smarter than me, but not too much smarter than me.
Yeah, and in the beginning they kind of like they I think it's a little bit simplified, but you have to, because like she's the language expert, and then Jeremy Renner's like super scientist. He kind of does a lot.
Chaos theory scientist.
But like,
yeah, Malcolm.
The only real like issue I kind of had was he wouldn't be like, oh, that's dumb. What are we gonna teach him with crayons? Like, what about the Pythagorean theorem and the quadratic equation? I think he'd be more open to anything. Now, obviously, he'd be like, oh yeah, binary and all these things that we use in science. You know, maybe that's where we find it. And she's like, that's dumb. Like, we're gonna do John walks.
But this connects to the ending, though.
In the middle, they come together, and they need both of them because he figures out things that the aliens are trying to communicate that she can't figure out, and she helps him communicate to them. So like it comes together, but just his initial intro was a little like, okay, but I think he'd be more open. Like we have giant aliens here. I think everyone would be a little more open to wacky ideas. But then again, we might just go the China route, just nuke them.
But that like totally goes into the ending though. Like I don't want to spoil the ending, but like there's a breakdown of communication of like purpose and values and of like what does it mean to live and to live a good life. And that's why like when someone leaves, it's like, oh, that would make sense because his brain's differently. He operates scientifically and logically, and she operates in a more subtle kind of nature of like seeing the nuances. He doesn't see those at first. Maybe he could have learned that better in their 1 month together with the aliens, but like that's ties in, so it makes sense in the end. You're like, oh yeah, they wouldn't end up together.
Well, she's more, I mean, you know, spoilers later, but she's more motherly in how she's teaching, you know, because she's taught a child. So she's kind of, that's how she's approaching the aliens. It's like you're teaching something to communicate with you. And you have to start from the most simplest way possible. It takes time.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. Is that's why we get into fights and arguments and wars and disagree. It's even like with marriage. It's literally about marriage too. Like we fight because we can't communicate properly. That's just how the entire human race is.
No, because she's wrong.
It's because she's wrong. She's a woman.
We're not talking about your marriage, Shane.
No. or even like my favorite thing is like I don't know much about Chinese culture, but I like in this movie when they talk about how like the Chinese are teaching it like a board game, but then they're like, there's a problem with that because someone has to lose that fucking game. It's combative. I'm not saying all Chinese people are combative, but that's the whole point of like the approach to it. You said it. She's going like a teacher, like a mother, going bare basics. They're like, we want the answers now immediately, and if we don't get them immediately, we're going to start nuking them or sending them smallpox blankets. Like this is the reality that's going to happen here.
Well, and I do like that the movie, everybody's communicating with these aliens. Every country that has them has found a way to communicate with them in some way because they're getting things from them.
Yeah.
So they're not all going her route. Mm-hmm. Like the Chinese are being more transactional. They're playing chess with it. They're figuring it out, and like they're getting, but it spooks them quicker too. Other countries are saying what they're getting from the aliens. So like everyone's figured out a way to communicate, and they're all getting different things, which kind of plays more into the how you communicate leads to different outcomes and stuff like that.
Or when it breaks, or like when it breaks down, that's when you get the problem, right? Because in the beginning of it, they're all sharing the information. And then at one point, China's like, fuck all of you, we're going dark. And then that's what like kind of upholds the whole chaos when you lose that.
It's kind of scary to think about, like, if this actually happened, and you can't help but think about it while watching the movie, like how different world powers would react, right? And like, I think the impulse, because of media, because of movies, maybe not like this one, but because of the last one we did, like Independence Day, people might be like, oh shit, they're going to blow up the White House. We got to kill them, you know?
Yeah.
But I think it's a good fear though. Like they don't talk about it a lot, but they do talk about like, oh, this cult kills themselves. Oh, there's looting. Oh, there's fires. Because imagine, well, the three of us are not Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner. We're not intelligent enough to go. They're not going to send the three of us to go communicate with the aliens. So we
just went through this. We're already here.
So besides this made up scenario, we're stuck at home sitting there on our hands, you know, like going, what the fuck do I do? How can I go on living a normal life while I sit here for an entire month while they talk and you trust these people? Do you trust scientists? I don't know. That's the whole kind of point. It's like that's what's kind of cool. It's just like the average human being is like I'm not justifying why Fox News Freddy goes and blows them up, but like the paranoia is gonna kick in, man. It's gonna happen at some point.
That brings me to another complaint I have, and it's kind of a glaring one for me. The captain, the Fox News Alex Jones captain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
First of all, I only have minor experience with government organizations in crisis. They would not have phones to their family. They would not be allowed to communicate at all with anyone. Like, no one would have a cell phone. No one would have a computer. Like, those guys would not be able to go to the phone bank and talk to their family. They would be on such lockdown and secrecy. So, like, him calling his wife and her being like, you need to fix this, figure it out, kill them all because I'm scared. Like, that, I get the panic and them not knowing what to do, but I feel like he wouldn't have had that outside influence. He wouldn't be listening to Alex Jones,
Right.
there.
He's clearly, like, watching an Alex Jones video while this is going on, talking about how, like, they're here to kill us all.
What's funny
But,
is like he's playing it out
and
loud
and
too.
the Democrats are just going to make a deal with them. You watch.
Exactly.
That's what's funny though. Is he's playing it out loud in like a tent, and everyone's hearing it. I'm like, why is no one telling them to turn it off? It's just really funny. But look,
This when I was a kid from people that I knew that were involved in CIA trials at Berkeley. The Clockwork Elves, Joe. I heard about the Clockwork Elves when I was a little kid, and I decided I don't want to see them. Because everybody sees them. Little goat creatures with little green hats and little green uniforms. They look just like gray aliens. Then they pull their mask off, and they don't look quite like that anymore. They wear little gray masks so they don't get too scary. Because they look like little gremlins, little demons. Now, see, you'll probably play that and say, look how crazy he believes little gremlin demons. No, you do. You talked about it. You saw it. You believe it. I didn't take it. The Bible says don't be part of pharmakia, because it gives you the evil spirits. Okay, I didn't used to believe that growing up. And then I learned the CIA is taking this to get interdimensional communications. You say you've had those interdimensional communications, Joe. I haven't had them. You have had the communications, but I'm the kook for saying that the owners of Time Life Books in the 30s were taking DMT. Every night I go to sleep, it's like 1,000 years. My waking life is not even one fraction of who I am.
You're with us, Ron. What do you think? I read somewhere that their periods attract bears. The bears can smell the menstruation.
Well, that's just great. You hear that, Ed? Bears. Now you're putting the whole station in jeopardy.
it's really funny. But look, how else do you convey the panic? Like, how else would you convey panic in a fast enough way? Because it's not really a big plot point, but it does escalate to a point of, you know, adding more ominous and like, oh, some shit's going down.
Oh, go ahead, Korey.
If there were aliens that showed up that were this sophisticated, there wouldn't be any, like, big-time celebration Independence Day ending. Like, they could kill us easily if they wanted to, and there's literally nothing we could do about it. So the idea, like, we gotta strike first is just dumb. Like,
yeah.
There's literally nothing we can do against them. Just face it. They don't even show, like, what kind of weaponry they have in this. But if they can make it to our planet and they have this kind of tech, like the few things we see, just like the ability to manipulate gravity the way they do, just you better be diplomatic, and that's the only way you're gonna go.
Yeah, and if they strike first, then I guess it's on. We'll see how we do. You would be like, we're not gonna start it.
I totally disagree, though. You have to think about, like, you have 7 billion people who are panicking. The 100 million who have access to information what's going on, they're going to start panicking and looting. You got to do something that's going to get there and not risking the death of all the people there. So I know logically you're going to lose this fight, but to me, human race is like, well, we're going out swinging. We're not going to be, you know, put at at the whim of these like squidbillies. Like, that's not going to happen.
So you're like General Shang in this scenario?
No. I'm telling you in the logic of the film. I know it's stupid that people do that, but I could see why they panic and want to go the nuclear option. I get why they do it. It's the wrong approach, but I could see, like,
that's
the
why
pressure.
I was so sad all day.
I know, but that's the point. That's why the movie is like, it's it's like a like a mirror universe of like, oh God, of like, I don't like seeing myself like this. But then there's certain people who are willing to take those difficult, large leaps of faith and communicate with people.
I think how I would have fixed the captain thing, because I like that, like, this splinter faction, like, takes into their own hands and basically kills one of the aliens. Spoiler alert.
Not Abbott.
No. I would have done the CIA guy. Like, how I would say they're getting more cryptic messages from the aliens that they're misinterpreting or could be misinterpreting. And he's like, oh shit, they're going to strike. Like, and she's like, no, that doesn't what that means. And he's like, no, they're going to kill us. Like, because him leading a splinter faction makes more sense than random captain that just goes out there unauthorized. Like, that's another thing is those trucks wouldn't just go out there unauthorized and people would be like, where are they? It would be so controlled who gets in and out.
Right. Well, you've been in the military, so I'm sure you have like more insight on that. But you're right. It's kind of like, what the fuck are they doing over there? Like, they look at him with binoculars like, no, someone get a security detail over there. See what they're up to.
Yeah. And if, like, it was him, like the CIA director or the agent or whatever, then there would be less eyes on why he's going. Or, I just think that could have been a little more clever. It's not like breaking. It's not like I go, this movie sucks, boo, turn it off. Like, it just... that kind of pulled me out a little bit. But then, like, everything else after it brings you right back. Like, the aliens really... They're so next level, too, that death doesn't even care about them. They're just like, oh, he's going through his death cycle. Like...
No, because
they're
they
so
know,
next level.
Yeah, because like they know like life is not linear; it's circular, at least existence. Speaking of aliens' designs, Korey, how do you think about the heptapods design?
Brilliant, perfection, basically. Like, what this movie does that's really cool is it takes aliens, which obviously from another planet, another galaxy, who knows where they're from. Maybe another fucking dimension as far as we perceive reality. Mm-hmm. They are very much alien, right? They're not like, and I love Star Trek, but they're not like Star Trek aliens where everyone is basically humanoid with very few exceptions. They're completely alien in like their biological form. Now, granted, they do resemble sea life in somewhat in our planet. But I mean, that aside, they didn't make them like human-esque, and they made them very much different, and like their biology is seemingly like something that we've like never encountered. Just like with the way they hover and like how they communicate written language, like they excrete some of their biological fluid as like a smoke or something like that, and they kind of like can suck it back into them. I think it's really clever to make them totally different. I think it was like Hawking or someone that said like if we did ever encounter alien life, they would be something that we would have never expected them to be like, and they would definitely not be humanoid.
Yeah, I was even thinking, like, as you mentioned in the very end of the movie, when they leave, they don't like upend and like fly into the atmosphere. They just dissipate. It's like it's so almost like you said, it reminds us of like like cephalopods, kind of like octopuses and stuff like that. So it's like they kind of just disappear away in like the ocean. It's like really kind of it's like we understand it and can relate to it, but also we cannot relate to that because it's so otherworldly.
There's a theory out there that octopuses or octopi aren't from Earth, that they're like their DNA hitched a ride on a comet and landed in the ocean, and that's why octopuses are so different from everything else. I feel like Denis Villeneuve was smoking weed and heard that, and he went, my God.
Yeah, I've heard that as well, and that kind of fits with this movie really well. I like that idea, too, that, like, there is a creature on this planet that isn't, like, we can't kind of trace the source to any, like, life before it, so maybe they are alien.
Yeah, and I like, too, that our relationship with the alien is from, it's technically their feet, I guess. Like, that's all we see for a long time because they're so obscured from their little tank that they're in. So you think that's kind of what the alien is? Like, you see it kind of cuts off, and you're like, that must be the face. Because, like, it'll even zoom in, like, and you're like, oh, I can see its eyes almost. Like, or I can kind of see what that alien's feeling. And then when she gets to see it in its full form, you're like, oh, wow, what is that?
And they're scary. And the moment leading up to the introduction of them is scary. You know, when I was watching it with my wife, she said, like, how would you feel about approaching these aliens in this scenario? Like, if you were the Amy Adams character? And I said, I'd be terrified. Like, I don't know if I could go through with it, you know? Yeah. I'd be absolutely shook.
Yeah, and I think that's what elevates this movie, too, is the attention to the characters. Is, like, we really get to feel how Amy Adams, in particular, feels about all this. Like, the pressure, like, you know, she doesn't want to go in, and Forrest Whitaker has to basically say, you got this, just go. And then, like, the pressure they're under because they have to communicate every 18 hours, and they have to basically do all the research before that point and then go back in and don't have time for breaks. She starts imagining things, which ties into, like, the ending of, like, the visions she's getting is, like, she's learning their language, so she's learning the truth about all of it. So it's, and she doesn't know what's real or not. So it's an excellent kind of way of, like, this character's cracking, but are they? Are they actually just kind of going to the next stage of evolution? And I like they all put it on her, and it's all just a phone call away. I love how simple it is. It's a lofty idea, but it's all simplified to something in the very end of it. It's not like this, oh no, it's a big battle with all the action's not even on screen. The part where, like, the three insurgents are attacking or trying to protect the bomb, like, we don't even get to see that. It doesn't. Who fucking cares about the war? We just want to talk about the actual human connection.
Yeah, when I first saw this movie, I didn't really even fully follow what was going on there. You know, it kind of clicked the second time I saw it, because I saw this movie in theaters twice, and I liked it for that, because that's not really what this movie is. It doesn't need all the action. Like, it's not that kind of sci-fi movie. It's a smart sci-fi movie, for lack of a better description.
And that movie doesn't deserve to be in this podcast. I picked it because I just like this movie. I just wanted to talk about it because your guys' picks are more related to alien invasion and action. I was like, fuck that. I'm gonna bring in one of my favorite movies. Have a chance to talk about it because I love this movie so much.
Are we not allowed to get into spoilers?
Oh, we can. I just want to give a little warning.
Yeah, spoiler alert, everybody. Go.
Well, this whole movie, the scientists are trying to communicate with the aliens to ask them one question. And that's the question we're trying to get answered as well from the audience, which is, what is your purpose here? Ronnie, I want to ask you, what did you think about the answer to that question?
To not have abortions? Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Pro-life aliens.
Yeah, the pro-life aliens. What I didn't notice it this time. Well, I noticed it this time. I noticed it before. Was like when the aliens like, we actually need your help 3,000 years from now. I was like, that's kind of interesting. So then, like, we need to accelerate your evolution because you guys are not progressing fast enough. Basically, it's almost kind of like pretentious aliens. You guys are slow as shit. And do this. So, like, I like the idea. If you break this down, it's convoluted. Why the fuck would they choose to go to 12 separate sites for nations that obviously don't fully get along? I get it. The whole purpose is we need to communicate. We need to unite. Because this big reality that your perception of time is not linear, it's circular, is so big that all of you need to be on the same fucking page so that you can take all your information that you've experienced in the past and in the future and use that for the betterment of, you know, the universe kind. So I love it. It's like the hippy dippy peaceful Star Trek type of thing where it's like, we're not here to conquer. We're here to, like, communicate and expand, you know, their equivalency of, like, a universal Starfleet. Like, we all need to, like, combine. So I like it. It's convoluted nonsense, but I totally enjoy it.
It is very Star Trek.
Or they're just seeing which tribes will work with them, and then they're going to send the Independence Day aliens at the other ones. When they come down, they're like, all right, we can work with these ones, and these ones are douches.
No, but it's hopeful, and I love it, because it's, like, because I remember Shane texted me going, because Shane, you haven't seen this before, right?
No, this was my first viewing.
So you just texted me like throughout the entire day, going, "I'm just depressed about how
It
humanity
fucked me
is
up, man.
about how humanity is gonna respond when we actually meet."
Well, like I could just picture Fox News be like, "Who chose Amy Adams to be the one to talk to him? Who? Oh, great, another liberal going into the spaceship to
Right.
spread their liberal agenda." Like, like how stupid the entire world would. Like, we would find issues in the dumbest things. Like, we'd be like, "We're talking to aliens," and they'd be like, "Who said she could talk to aliens? I don't want her up talking for me." Like,
It would very much be like that.
yeah, and it's just hurts my brain because I'm like, I don't know how you fix it. I was like, there's just so many of us, and there's so many points of break on the chain that it's very unhopeful.
David, what makes you sad?
War, poverty, cruelty, unnecessary violence. I understand human emotions, although I do not feel them myself.
So you either get assaulted by the aliens or assaulted by the federal government for talking about the aliens. But this isn't a joke.
It's interesting that that's like the depressing part to you, because I do think this movie is very somber, and it is, of course, meant to be with the flashbacks, which are actually flash forwards, and like, the score and the muted colors. But the thing that really like makes me sad about this movie is like the revelation that the flashbacks that Amy Adams has been having about her daughter, who you think died at some point in the past, that actually hasn't happened yet. I think it's a really good reveal, but it's also like very sad the way it ends. Like,
but
with
she
her...
knows she has to go through this.
No, but she didn't.
Yes.
But she didn't have to, though, right? Because is time is choices. Time isn't like you're forced to do it. She had a choice, and she chose. It's what makes me so hopeful. Is she chose? She even says in the beginning, life isn't about the beginning and the end. It's about all the things in the middle, and it's worth suffering for me so that my daughter has a chance for 12 years of a beautiful existence. I'm like, oh shit, that's gonna bring me to
and
tears.
she has to do this so that the aliens have a place to stay in 3,000 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna crash on her couch.
Right. That is kind of how I picture this. Is like these aliens show up and they're looking over the house and they're like, yeah, this is a shithole. We're gonna have to clean this up before we have to stay here.
You call that a bay window? I'll show you a better bay window.
Just go ahead and give them a starter loan or something. We'll get this going here.
So yeah, no, I think it's like that bittersweetness of just existence, right? Right? Because I feel like if all of us could see our lives in a circular way and like, well, 20 years from now, shit, I want to get like ass cancer and it's gonna really suck. It's probably gonna end up killing me. But does that mean I just want to like not exist anymore? No, because there's 20 years up to that point. So maybe I learned something. Like I can learn from the future and the past by enjoying my moments, fighting with my wife about refinancing our house, or should we put in more fucking windows, or will they survive for the next winter or not? Who fucking cares? Because that's not the purpose of existing. Like, it's for enjoying those moments.
For those hard California winters.
Yeah. Well, it's like the very, I think it's the very end quote of the movie. When Louise says to Jeremy Renner, she says, if you could see your whole life from start to finish, would you change things? And he says, I don't know, maybe I'd say what I feel more often.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that quote. That hits me hard.
It does. It's a kind of a, you said somber, right? It's like it's a somber kind of thing. So I get why Shane's depressed, and I get why like the director doesn't really have faith in most of humanity. But there's still there's still that hope there. There's still people who care about communicating and surviving and not just wanting to destroy. And want to talk it out, even if it's risky to talk it out and have a conversation. So I fucking love it. So yeah, it's somber, but I feel like that kernel of hope is the whole purpose of humanity. Is we keep pushing forward, even when, God damn it, it seems pointless.
It's like we suck. Maybe our kids won't.
It's burnt down.
Yeah.
So you mentioned
Arrival.
So last thing, Signs. Back to Signs again. This is like a way better version of Signs. We're like, there's a twist in this movie. And it's not about the twist. This is what I think M. Night Shyamalan gets up his own ass of, like, it's got to have a twist. Like, it doesn't. The twist is just a little cherry on top of it. Because, like, if you don't have Louise, like, having the flashbacks about her daughter, I think it's still fine. I think this movie would work. I think it's more emotionally, connecting. And, oh, God, it's a kick in the fucking crotch when you figure out what's going on. But you don't need it. But it just adds the cherry on top of this movie of, like, pulling the rug underneath you.
Well, I think it's better for it, of course. I would hate for it to be removed. But, I think in some cases more than other, Shyamalan's movies really rely on that twist. And without it, they are nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of a nothing burger without the twist.
Before we jump into the last movie, is there any other like invasion movies you thought about bringing to the podcast, but you didn't, or they're kind of on that list of good alien movies you like?
Yes. You thought of a movie called Arrival, which we just talked about, which made me think of a 1996 movie called The Arrival, which comes to my brain anytime someone brings up the 2016 Arrival. So... Many moons before Arrival, there was a Charlie Sheen vehicle called The Arrival, which I watched a lot as a kid. It's like this weird alien movie where Charlie Sheen is a scientist and he's kind of like picking up on satellite signals, and he discovers that there is some foreign communication, and he kind of investigates it and realizes that it's from these aliens, which are more like Independence Day aliens, but without the action. It's more about his discovery, and he invades their base, and we get to see him, and they're these horrible design CGI creatures, and of course they got the backwards knees and stuff. It's not a great movie, but the names definitely make me think of each other, and I almost picked it just for the name, just so I could say, you picked Arrival. I picked The Arrival.
That's so funny because like that's how I saw that movie. I didn't grow up with The Arrival. My wife and I took my grandpa to see Arrival in theaters, and he goes, "Have you seen The Arrival?" I'm like, "No, what's that?" And he goes, "Oh, it's a really good Charlie Sheen movie." And I was like, "Okay," so going from Arrival to The Arrival, I was like, "Oh, Grandpa, you're so fucking wrong."
Okay, boomer.
Like,
shut up, old man.
It's not about the CGI. It's just the movie is just Charlie Sheen sweating. I think in Argentina.
Oh my God, he is so sweaty.
He's so sweaty.
Dude, he's Kobe. It's the sweatiest he's ever been.
This is pre-AIDS, like, sweaty too. Like, I'm guessing he was like sweaty after that too. But like, I don't know. I don't remember anything besides that movie. Besides, he fucks a girl, I think, and then like she's an alien, right?
The aliens kill her with scorpions. They put scorpions in her bed.
There we go. Because of all the
that's how they do it.
The intergalactic travel. They're like, scorpions? Yeah, scorpions. Of course, scorpions.
How would they even know the scorpions are poisonous? Like, if you just showed up and grabbed a random bug. Like,
are you questioning the integrity of The Arrival?
I thought of two others, kind of, like, briefly. Like, I didn't really consider them, but one of them is a great movie. It's a wasted potential classic called Galaxy Quest.
Oh, I love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I know you guys like that movie a lot. It is really good. Classic Star Trek movie. Also, a horrible piece of shit movie from 1996 that isn't Independence Day, Space Jam.
Oh, I was so hoping you'd bring that one. But I'm really happy
that did come up in conversation.
Yeah. Danny was like,
that's another like lock and key in the back of your mind. Don't ever rewatch it. It sucks.
So bad. I rewatched
it. Michael Jordan saves us from the alien invasion.
Not
of the Monstars.
Not with his acting, he doesn't. Yeah, when Dan wanted to bring a child's movie into the podcast, so he went through a bunch of different ones, and Space Jam was thrown around. Shane, how about you?
We could have all just picked kids' movies. One of them could have picked the Space Jam sequel. Like Shane could have picked Space Jam Legacy or whatever it's called.
Couldn't finish it. Shane, what about you? Any other invasion movies that you thought about but you didn't bring in?
I went through a lot. Most of them were dumb. I just love dumb fight movies. Like Battle Los Angeles was one. When I watched it again, it's a good hour, and then you go, oh fuck, we have another hour, and it's just the same hour. And you're like, oh, wow, that was a lot. So watch 40 minutes of Battle LA and then turn it off, and you'll have a great experience. Battlefield Earth came up in my head, but I was like, I kind of want to save that for its own. I want to make that its own meal when I sit down for that one. And then you brought it up, but it did come through District 9. That's one I kind of wish I would have done instead of Independence Day, just because it's such a different take on it, where the aliens kind of get fucked over for visiting us.
Yeah, I like that. It has a lot to say.
Yeah,
because that always leads to me too, where I understand that aliens would be more advanced than us, but that doesn't mean that they're not bound to the laws of physics. Like a sabot round from a tank still is going to hurt aliens because it carries the physics of it through it. Maybe their technology's better, but it's kind of like, yeah, when we fight, Al-Qaeda, our technology's way better, but their bullets still hurt. We have way more systems and abilities to protect ourselves, but like in the end, a bullet hitting biomass works. So like I like when we can actually affect the aliens, because I believe that we would. They may be far beyond our comprehension and ability to do things, but I think we could still hurt them.
Yeah, here's a nerd argument. I guess we can go as far as we want to in this. Okay, so how do shields work in science fiction? Like if a ship has a shield, protecting it, and eventually at some point, is it just the time? Is it time operated, or is it because it's taking so many hits, the battery runs out? How do you guys think Star Trek or Star Wars shields operate?
The shields are the literal embodiment of plot armor.
Of course.
Where they hold as long as they need to.
Well,
and
in
then
Star Trek, it's
they
like
don't.
a video game.
Yeah.
It's like a video game in that, they have a certain amount of, HP, right? And certain kinds of weapons, take down the HP of the shield until it's at 0. Okay. So, that's Star Trek type shields. Star Wars shields never really made sense to me because they never go into them.
Yeah. And I'm but just using as an amateur physicist, shields to me make sense for energy weapons because you would disperse energy and light. But I don't see how anything but armor matters for kinetic weapons. Unless the shield melts kinetic objects.
That's what I always thought too, is do the rounds eventually melt the shields, or they just run out of juice, or I think you said it best, when the plot needs it to, it just goes, we're done.
I think shields will forever remain the plot armor of choice for sci-fi.
Okay, before we go on to the last one, I wrote down, I was going to go 80s, was Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's Spielberg, schmaltz. On the opposite end, I don't really like this movie, but I like the world, is They Live. The John Carpenter movie. I don't really care for the movie that much, but I love just all the things that connect it in that world. I love, all the secrets behind. So I like a lot of things of They Live, but I don't really love that movie. I think it's, very dated, and it's hard to kind of look through past some things, but it's a really great movie. You guys ever seen?
I can't remember if War of the Worlds was any good. Was that good with Tom Cruise?
I have that on
for a few minutes.
Yeah.
It's a Spielbergy, schmaltzy update of an older movie that doesn't have any new tricks really, besides good visual effects. Have you seen Captive State? It's got John Goodman in it. It's from 2016, where it's basically I think the entire city of Chicago is a captive state to aliens, and it's basically from the perspective of these two brothers. One's a freedom fighter, and one's this teenager who's just trying to survive. And then John Goodman's a government official who's backstabbing people. It's not great, but it's interesting.
So Goodman did 2 Alien movies in 2016?
Yeah, 10 Cloverfield Lane.
I was about to say, is this? I remember the Clover Lane one.
That one's good, but it doesn't really have the aliens are kind of tacked on in the end. But that's a really cool survival movie of
Oh yeah,
yeah, for sure. Under my pretentious umbrella, I love Vast of Night. It's a Amazon Prime one where I think it's in, I'm not sure if it's Roswell or just New Mexico, where it's this small town just gets these inklings that there's something weird going on, and then this this radio DJ and this girl get caught up in this whole, like, there's aliens above us. What do we do? It's very small and it's like ominous and slow and boring. I love that movie. Or then last one.
I just picture that fucking movie. I picture a scene where it's like nighttime and there's no sound. You just hear crickets and the characters just stare at each other for 10 minutes. And then one goes, yeah.
You've seen it. You've seen the movie. And then the last, well, I have two more, but last one I want to mention because Shane hates it is Annihilation. I love Annihilation. It's
Fuck that movie.
It's a cool action movie from one of my favorite directors. I love Annihilation.
I have yet to stay awake.
Fuck you.
Through that entire
Fuck you. You're so wrong. You're so fucking wrong.
Come on, Shane. Get the fuck out of here.
Because it stars women.
I think
it stars
it's cool,
women. That's why you hate
idea.
it. You hate women.
But Natalie Portman just doesn't entertain me. And I think the aliens are cool. I think the visuals are cool. It just takes too long for me, and I just can't make it through. I always wake up at the lighthouse with the goo monster looking at her. That you go, wait, is it her? And you go, what the fuck happened?
Get out. You know, I've always said that your ability to stay awake is not the movie's fault.
It is not. It's because it stars women. Okay.
Yeah, Shane, what's going on, man?
Last one.
I don't
I also
know.
love Under the Skin. That's a haunting, miserable movie about.
Is that the Scarlett Joe one?
Yes, and that's the one where the aliens get fucked literally. And then we got to mention, since Dan's not here, The Thing.
Yeah, he was gonna do The Thing before he was gonna do Welcome to Mooseport.
I've only seen one frame from Under the Skin.
Got it.
Same.
That movie's so fucking
Over
good.
and over and over again.
The movie's so fucking good, and it's undermined by Scarlett Johansson showing off her nudity. The movie's so fucking good.
Oh, it wasn't that frame, you weirdo?
Yeah, sicko is the other one.
The part where the
There's
park
another
ranger,
frame in there, I swear.
the park ranger rapes her. Yeah, you love that frame, you sick fucks.
I didn't even know there was rape in it, but now it makes sense that you would watch it, you weirdo.
Now you get it. You understand now.
I didn't know that either, but you're right, Shane. How accurately does that line up with Ronnie's tastes in film?
God, it is a prerequisite for any film that Ronnie recommends that there is some sort of sexual assault.
I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the curve, goddammit.
So, what do you want to do, Scott? I don't know. I was thinking I like animals. Maybe I'd be a vet.
An evil vet?
No. Maybe like work in a petting zoo.
An evil petting zoo?
You always do that!
It's not my fault.
He's the Joker of the podcast.
Yeah.
But Vast of Night has 0 rape, so it's kind of boring. So whatever. Hey, speaking of rape, let's talk about our last film, Shane.
Edge of Tomorrow? Korey, you chose Edge of Tomorrow. I'm so glad you did. Tell us about Edge of Tomorrow.
I'm glad I chose this as well. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. And all these movies, really. It's been a lot of fun so far. 2014 is when Edge of Tomorrow came out. And this is a year that had some amazing movies. I'm going to tell you guys a few of them. Whiplash, Birdman, Nightcrawler, Gone Girl, John Wick, Snowpiercer, Interstellar, and even some great comic book movies, in my opinion. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy. And this one's probably the most divisive among the comic book movies of that year, but X-Men Days of Future Past. I fucking love that movie.
I'm in on that.
I loved going to movies in 2014, man. It was so much fun. I remember the hype for every movie and going to theaters to see them and just had a great time. This one I knew very, very little about. And I was so happy when I saw it. It was like so exciting. It has such a cool premise. And I think for the purposes of this podcast, it actually fits really nicely because it's kind of somewhere in between Independence Day and Arrival. It's like that sweet spot right between.
It takes the best of both and blends them damn near perfectly.
It's pretty cool in that way. It's an action movie, and it also has like a cool sci-fi premise. And the premise is very easily said.
What I am about to tell you sounds crazy. But you have to listen to me.
very lives depend on it.
This is not the end.
You see, this isn't the first time. Now, we've had this conversation. What day is it?
Judgment Day. You just came in with the fresh recruits.
This is not the end.
The invasion will fail, along with every soldier you are sending. We lose everything.
Come find me when you wake up.
You do know what's happening to me.
What happened to you happened to me. You hijacked their power. I need your help.
With what exactly?
Winning the war. We can do this. Just come here every day and I'll train you.
No matter what I do, this is as far as you go.
Why does it matter what happens to me?
I'm not a soldier.
Of course you're not. You're a weapon.
Groundhog Day, but an action movie.
Yep.
That was like the joke when the trailer came out, because I didn't see this in theaters. I watched it for the first time 3 days ago, and I remember everyone making fun of it, like, oh, it's just this movie and this movie and this movie. So like, I was part of the naysayers before I saw the movie.
Well, I think that makes it a perfect elevator pitch, right? Because how are you going to explain this to a studio executive? You could say, well, you know, Groundhog Day, imagine that, but in an action sci-fi movie starring Tom Cruise.
Chap lips.
Morning! See the groundhog? Think it'll be an early spring.
Didn't we do this yesterday?
I don't know what you mean.
What day is this?
It's February 2nd. Groundhog Day. That was yesterday. Oh.
Didn't we do this yesterday?
Tell me more.
Yeah.
On the couch.
And this movie, I love it too because it lives in this weird space where I would argue it's one of Tom Cruise's best action films, period. Like, with all his Mission Impossibles and everything, I feel like I could watch Edge of Tomorrow way more than I could watch Mission Impossible on repeat.
How
Not to
ironic.
include Mission Impossible 2. It holds its own place for me. But I could keep watching
No one likes
Edge
that
of
movie.
Tomorrow. Shut up. It has banger hits. But you if Limp Bizkit would have done the soundtrack for Edge of Tomorrow, it would have been perfect. But no, it's so good, and it didn't do very well for a movie of its class in house release, and it's more of a marketing failure than it is anything else, because I think I remember they changed the name. Wasn't it originally put out as Live, Die, Repeat? But then like they're like, wait, that kind of gives away the whole thing, and then they changed it just before it came out.
I think it's a tagline, right, Korey?
They did eventually make that a tagline, yeah. So there's a manga that this is based off, I believe, called All You Need Is Kill, which is a very like Japanese kind of title, right? But they bring it to America. They got to adapt it into an American movie and give it a name. Live, Die, Repeat, I think, is what they threw around at the beginning. And I think that's what it was starting to get known as until it was changed to Edge of Tomorrow, which became the official title. And then Live, Die, Repeat kind of became the tagline. But Live, Die, Repeat might be a little bit better of a name, and only because like Edge of Tomorrow sounds very much like any kind of sci-fi or genre 2000s movie or 2010s movie, right? It could be anything, Edge of Tomorrow. It's essentially a meaningless title.
Yeah, like
now you could probably like give it a
War
lot
or
of
whatever.
thought and make it make sense for any movie, I think, including this one, but really not the best title.
I always got this one confused because I didn't see either of them. Was this one with Oblivion, the Tom Cruise sci-fi movie that came out like the year before this one, or same year maybe?
Did you see this movie just for this podcast, Ronnie? Edge of Tomorrow?
Yes. Okay, so I think I texted you, Korey. Like, I allegedly have the Netflix DVD of Edge of Tomorrow somewhere in my possession. I have had the Netflix DVD in my possession for at least, I don't know, since 2015. And I have never allegedly watched this movie until 3 days ago. And I didn't even watch it on the DVD. Allegedly, I watched it on streaming.
I was about to say,
So you're
the
a
only way to know
criminal.
it's true is it's completely scratched, so it keeps freezing or skipping as you watch it.
So it has literally always been on my literal list, staring at me in the face. And I'm just not an action guy. My wife is definitely not an action guy or gal or whatever she identifies as. But point being is, I just put it off, and then Korey made me watch it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But want to tell us what the synopsis is, though, before we get too carried away?
Yes, it's really cool, I think. So this movie, which came out in 2014, I believe takes place in 2020, actually. So it's a different kind of 2020 dystopia. But we have aliens that have invaded Earth, and when this movie starts, we've kind of been at war with them. We don't know a whole lot about them other than what we get in newscasts, and that's they're not here to negotiate. They're not here to be our friends. They are attacking us, and we are defending ourselves. And a lot of the wars taking place in Europe with them, it's more ground battles. Like they landed here, and they're attacking us on the ground, on Earth. Tom Cruise is our lead in this movie. He plays Major Cage, and he's kind of like a military PR figure. He does interviews, and he kind of like basically gets the whole world on board with the idea that we need to fight them. We're doing well. And he's introducing new technology that was developed seemingly specifically to fight the aliens. It's basically these really fucking badass mech suits, which look amazing. They look really cool. This is the kind of thing that I think existed in the book version of Starship Troopers, which they didn't have the budget to introduce into the movie. But these mech suits have a lot of different abilities that we start to see throughout the movie. But Tom Cruise basically talks to a general, and the general says, I need you to sell this war to people. And Tom Cruise says, sure, I'll do anything you need. And he says, great, I need you to go and be on the front lines tomorrow at Operation Downfall, which is essentially like their version of, I don't know, the Battle of Normandy, Operation Overlord.
D-Day.
And Tom Cruise is not very happy about this. He's a PR figure. So he is not used to fighting. He's a guy that goes on the news and speaks on behalf of the military. And now he has to go and actually fight with a camera crew, I guess, to kind of show like, look, this is me in battle. This is how great we're doing. And he doesn't want to do that. So he tries to blackmail a general. It doesn't go well for him. So he loses his rank, and he is sent down to basically to battle with the grunts of the military, to be on the front lines. And that in itself is kind of a cool premise, right? Because he's this guy that basically has no combat experience, even though he's like a high rank in the military. he's really out of his element, and he's with like all these like rough Marines that are basically like sci-fi Marines in mech suits. So we get to see pretty early on like what it's like at this battle, facing off against these aliens. And he's fumbling his way through. He gets like a lucky kill, but is pretty much instantly killed right after that by one of the aliens. But it's a bit of a unique situation because the alien that dies transfers his blood. I know it's kind of a weird sci-fi mechanic onto Tom Cruise. And then that's where the real movie starts. Tom Cruise wakes up the next day where he started the previous day, and he realizes after a couple attempts that he's reliving the same day over and over. And for a while, he doesn't know why, but that's really the basis of this movie. He's this guy that is basically the lead action hero of this movie, but is an incapable man in terms of like military prowess, in terms of combat. And he has to figure out essentially how to win this war in this one day that he keeps repeating.
I love that they went that route. Because you think Tom Cruise, you think he's going to be a badass, and like they totally could have done like he's the hero of Verdun and da-da-da-da-da, and then he meets the alien, and then you skip all the training stuff because he's already a badass. But like it allows him to have such a better arc that he's like this slimy coward that now holds the key to saving the Earth, and he has to become a hero.
And he even tries to give it away to her. He even tries to like say, "Can I give you my blood instead?"
Yeah, well, like, and even towards the end, he doesn't really become like that classic hero. He still is kind of cowardly in a way. He just accepts what he has to do, which is the most heroic thing. He doesn't like change. He doesn't get more jacked. He doesn't like. He just accepts his responsibility. Because he'll still do like slimy things and stuff like that, but he changes within the character that makes sense. And it's very good and well written. I love this. I watched it I made my wife watch it like a couple days before we even decided to do this podcast. And then when Korey chose it, I was like, fuck yeah, I already watched it. We're good to go. But
it's such a great premise for this kind of movie, right? For this like action movie. Someone that is not trained, they have to relive this huge battle every day. So he's basically memorizing like every step he has to take to win. And it's a really great process to see him do that. And eventually he does start training, which is cool because he can remember all his training because he remembers the day before. Mm-hmm. And it seems like it's going on for a long time. Like, in my mind, I like to think it's like years that he's doing this because he has like every step down, like perfected. But even then, like mistakes get made and he has to go back. Yeah. And we get Emily Blunt as our action heroine who previously had this power. So she's kind of taken him under his wing. And I think that dynamic works really well as well.
I kind of like that. Yeah. They're both almost like frauds. Like they're not frauds because they obviously put the work in to memorize and save people, but like it's been like over exaggerated of who they are because no one really understands. So it's kind of a cool premise that, like you said, Shane, like the hero is heroic but in a different way. It's not because they're the most talented, it's because they're the most trained to do it. So it's a really cool like premise that would take it's a really cool character kind of development. How like I could see this being generic action hero, but no, it really works well with the characters and how they change. And I even like I'm jumping ahead too far, but the part where like it goes full like 50 First Dates, where basically Tom Cruise is like, I'm in love with someone who doesn't know I exist. It's kind of interesting.
I look at
That's an interesting dynamic as well, I think, because he has to spend every day with Emily Blunt's character Rita, and I was kind of feeling bad for him because he's spending every day with her for like months or a year or maybe even years. And to her, every time it's the first day she's dealt with him. So like, it's got to be really heartbreaking for him watching her die and like getting very attached to her. And she has no idea who he is.
Oh,
like that's like a sad element of this movie, I think.
They just took 50 First Dates and turned it into an action film. Damn it.
Like that was the joke though in the trailer was it's an amalgamation of a bunch of movies, but it 100% works. Like, I'm trying to like think of things I don't like about this movie, but it's like pretty great, like, just action science fiction thing with the cool premise. But I think what elevates it is that the character arc. I mean, I think the only thing I don't like is Tom Cruise. I think Tom Cruise is kind of one note, but I like his character a lot, and I think he just fills the shoes just fine. But
Objection.
Tom Cruise is fine and serviceable when he's Ethan Hunt, and he's just like, I'm action man with no feelings. But I wanted to get a little bit more of that scene because Emily Blunt outacts the shit out of him when they're having that conversation in the barn. Like, I wish someone else wasn't Tom Cruise doing this, but I think he does the I'm a pussy role really well. Surprisingly, it's almost like Tom Cruise is like stepping down from his prestige as Tom Cruise and being like, I'm actually a coward and I'm gonna do everything cowardly to get out of this. So I really like the first.
It's almost crazy that he was willing to do that.
Yeah.
Right? Because you wouldn't think that Tom Cruise would be willing to do that, but I think it speaks a lot to him as an actor that he was.
Yeah.
It gives me a glimpse of the old Tom Cruise, the every year nominated for an Academy Award Tom Cruise, where you forget how good an actor he is because he's just found his niche that makes him happy. Kind of like what big actors just do now. They don't really challenge themselves. But like back when he was doing Magnolia, when he was doing, a few Good Men, Interviews with a Vampire, like he's a very good actor. He can do a lot. He's just kind of picked what he likes now, which is jumping motorcycles. And that's what he does.
Being the savior of cinema. Roll my eyes.
Yeah, saving cinema.
At least action cinema. But
like Pappy put it to me in this perspective once on the topic of the Fast and Furious, actually. But he said that, there's less action superstars in the world than there are NFL quarterbacks. So these guys really want to protect their brand usually. And that's true for Fast and Furious in a different way. But Tom Cruise here, obviously he does become a big time action hero, but that's not where he starts. He starts, like you said, as a coward. And I do love that.
Well, sorry, this is off topic, but you mentioned it. I would say we don't have action heroes anymore. We have superheroes now.
He's a very human hero.
Well, he is. This role is traditional, action. No, okay, sorry, it's not. He becomes a traditional action hero, right? He has to pull himself by the bootstraps and learn from it. But nowadays, we don't have action heroes because we've morphed into comic books. So you don't have Schwarzeneggers and Stallones anymore because Chris Pine and Chris Evans are just so tied into the Marvel universe. Those are our action heroes now.
Interesting perspective.
Sorry,
we still got The Rock swimming around out there somewhere.
He's an anomaly. He's a fucking great white shark. He's the anomaly of he can do anything and it's gonna make pretty decent money. He's the anomaly.
But you won't like it for some reason. You're just I don't get it because
he's not white. Is that
you
what
see
you're
a
saying?
bad movie with him and you're like, I like him. This movie sucks.
Well, there's some Schwarzenegger movies that suck ass too, though.
You watch your mouth.
There's Stallone's movies that suck ass too, but Sly Stallone makes me giggle. I probably won't, but I might rewatch a Rocky one day.
Never again. I've had enough Rocky for a lifetime.
There's a point in this movie I want to talk about too, because it's the thing I remember the most about the movie, and it's kind of the thing I think about first when I remember certain scenes, and it's kind of midpoint in the movie, a little bit beyond midpoint, where Tom Cruise has been working with Emily Blunt, and they've been kind of retrying a certain amount of steps over and over, and he realizes this sequence of events, which they've probably done for months, it just isn't working, and she always dies at a certain point. And it's almost like he gives up at that point. He's tired of this shit, and he goes back to fight Solo, and it's when he's preparing to fight Solo, and he's doing that scene that he repeats over and over where he's strapping into his mech suit and the guy's getting him in and the guy's where's your helmet? And he says, I don't use one. It's a distraction. His face in that scene and the battle that ensues right after, it's some of the best nonverbal acting of Tom Cruise, I feel. If you just look into his eyes, it's the most fed up disposition Tom Cruise has ever given in a movie.
I do like it because I kind of view this whole movie from the lens of a video gamer. And because it is very video game-y in that, like, I picture, like, if you played, like, Dark Souls or any of those games where basically the only way to beat it is you just have to keep doing the same thing over and over and learning the pattern, and how exhausting that is, because no matter if you know the pattern, you can still fuck it up. And, like, to know that one fuck up, even though you knew what to do, restarts the whole thing over again, would just break you. Yeah. And then compound that now with the stakes that are involved, which, as a human, no matter if I did the same thing for a year, even if I knew it was the fate of the world that rested on it, you're going to build a callus to that and just be like, you know what, fuck it. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, it would wear your mind down. And then compound it with he's falling in love with Emily Blunt, and what breaks him is he can't keep watching her die, which she was dealing with the same thing too. And which leads to that bar scene where he's like, no matter if you go left, right, straight, up, down, like, you don't make it. And she's like, well, that's okay. Do we win? And he doesn't care if they win. He wants a specific ending.
Right. And I mean, how are you going to spend that much time with someone and not want that? It's totally understandable.
Yeah. I wrote that down. I wrote down the best video game movie ever that's not based on a video game. Because, like, I just, like, always picture the few times I do play video games, it's like, oh, I got past that part, and then I immediately die right afterwards. It's like the part when he's on the beach and, like, the montage is happening where he saves the fat guy who's naked underneath his mech suit, and he immediately is, like, punished for trying to do something good. So, like, I just 100% got, like, this is, like, the most frustrating video game ever. This movie's fantastic in almost every regard of it. Oh,
and it's like,
and the action scenes are incredible at times. Like, when Tom Cruise gets good and he's, like, making short work of the aliens on the battlefield, like, I love that shit. When he, like, is he's, like, running around this, like, pit, and he's, like, running around, like, the ring of it, right? Like, the circumference of it, and he's just, like, wiping out all the aliens, and his, like, drill sergeant is, like, blown away by seeing him, like, do so well. And when he starts to really understand how to use the mech suit, because at first he's just using, like, the basic gun, but when he, like, figures out how to use all the gadgets in it, and he's just taking these motherfuckers out, it looks so good. And the mech suits look pretty fucking fantastic.
Yeah, this does a good future equipment where everything is obviously something we don't have or are capable of having now, but it looks close enough to something we could have.
Yes.
Like, especially if our back was against the wall really fast and we had to just, like, pool everyone's resources together for humanity, like, what kind of shit we'd bust out. Be like, you know what? It's a prototype, but we have it. Like,
it's exactly what I was thinking too. Was like, if you put all the intelligent minds and all the huge, like, weaponry companies together, what would you get? Super suit. I'm like,
well, like, just the fact that we have helicopters that are invisible to radar, and we didn't know that until the Bin Laden raid, and we've had it since Reagan, and no one knew about this helicopter. Like,
so there's secretly, I guess,
who knows what's out there?
It's secretly a super suit that they're using to combat Ukrainians.
Well, DARPA does have suits. They just can kill the user right now. Like, if the power fails, you could die in it.
Here's a personal.
Oh shit!
But they do exist.
Here's a personal question. Sorry, for Shane. This is it's one of those hive mind movies. You've told me on the podcast before. Hive mind is like your least favorite plot device that any alien movie does. What are your thoughts on this hive mind in this movie? Do you forgive it or not?
The hive mind drives me crazy, but, like, that's just because I see it so much. Independence Day was actually a tad refreshing because it's not truly hive mind. It's they blow up the mothership, and that makes the other ships vulnerable. Not that they don't function independently. I'm like, okay, that's better, dumb. But I get it from a writing standpoint. When you have this huge thing, you don't want to go into, now we got to, like, kill all these aliens, because each one is super dangerous alone. So, like, it takes an army to just kill 3, you know? So, like, you kind of have to, in this sense. And then they do a good enough job of being like, well, it's the mastermind and whatever. I'm just sick of hive mind. It's lazy. It's constant. But I don't have a better answer for it, especially in this scenario, because you're not going to add another hour to this film of mop up. You know what I mean? Like, the best you could do is like Starship Troopers, where it's like, the fight continues. We'll join today. Yeah. We can take it to them now. Like, that's all I got for that. But it works for this, especially since the aliens are kind of a side note. This is about Tom Cruise learning how to, or trying to make the future into what he wants, because he's been given this power now. Mm-hmm. And the movie does a perfect job at the right moment cutting it out from under him. Like, it introduces how that can happen early on, but you're like, just kill yourself. And then they do a good job at how it gets the power gets taken away from him.
Now we get into territory where I have some complaints. One of them is a little bit earlier, and that's, when he's training, he's learning things and he's remembering them, which makes sense. But one aspect that has always stuck with me is that he wouldn't maintain the same fitness level.
Yes.
Right? So if you're slightly out of shape, you're still going to be slightly out of shape.
Yeah, that's all you got. You're working with what you got, bud.
Right.
What about muscle memory? Would that work too, or no?
I don't know.
What I'm saying is he'll still get tired quick.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, it's like, I'm doing push-ups every day to get better. Oh, shit. Yeah, it's very true. What you got is what you're going in with, so...
The other thing is that after he loses his ability to reset the day, the movie becomes significantly less fun for me.
Yep.
Like, I still like the movie, but it's not quite the same anymore. And I know it's not meant to be, because now it's like the stakes are higher. Now we have one shot and one shot only. But I just feel like they wouldn't be able to accomplish this in one shot. And the ending is just a bit too dark for me. It's very hard to see. When I think of the ending for this movie, I think of it being very dark. And it is.
It's true. Money. All the action scenes up to that point have been in the sun. They've been bright, or at least visible. But yeah, once they get to Paris, it's like kind of a dark mess.
That's the only plot problem I have is the final act scene. Like, he has to convince all of them, the Marines, to join this, suicide mission. I'm like, no, we're not going to violate orders to follow you, which is fine. I don't really care. Like, it's just a nitpick thing of, like, they're not going to do that. But I do like that it brings the characters back into the movie. So it feels like intentional with having him meet these characters and them giving him a hard time. And then him saving them in the pit. Like, it works better in a story than a logic kind of thing. 'Cause it's kind of silly. But I like that the characters all get their moment in the sun in the end.
I like... so I'm kind of torn on the ending, because I agree with Korey that, like, it loses its charm once the power's taken away. Because it's like, now we're just wheeling and dealing, and it adds a lot more stakes. Because, yeah, one random event can end this whole thing and we lose. But it also suspends your disbelief, because you believe that he can do all these crazy things, dodge bullets and stuff like that, because he's just done it before. So that is why he can do all these cool action things. But now he's doing all these cool action things, and you're like, you're just wheeling and dealing, and it's just another action film. What I kind of wish they would have done was they finally get to the alien, and his problem is there's no way. They address it with the helicopter, but I wish that was towards the alien, where he's like, there's no way we kill this thing and you live. And she's like, well, who gives a shit? Kill it. And he's like, I can't, because I can't live in a world without you. I love you, type thing, And like, that's the big point, is that he won't pull the trigger because of her, and then you can create some sort of drama from there. You still get all your action, you still get to fight to Paris and stuff, but like, you could reveal that like we've gotten to this moment a bunch of times, and he won't kill it because he knows she dies. kind of thing. I don't know.
That would be interesting. It'd be very thoughtful. I don't know if it'd be quite as satisfying as what a mainstream audience would need, but I like that angle. I don't hate it.
Yeah, and then like you could end it, and then he wakes up, and then he meets her again, and you go, "Oh, happy ending, we did it!" Like, yeah, but it's a minor complaint from a pretty good movie. Like, not even pretty good, really good movie. But, I'm kind of saddened that more people haven't seen it. I think more are seeing it because I remember my group of friends being like, "Dude, have you seen Edge Tomorrow? It's like one of the better sci-fi movies I've seen in a long time." And I'm like, I haven't. Yeah, whatever. But I feel like now I see it and I'm saying the same thing. Like, you don't even have to be a big sci-fi fan to really enjoy Edge of Tomorrow. Like, my wife liked Edge of Tomorrow, and she's not an action sci-fi. She watches The Bachelor. Like,
oh, mine too. Absolutely.
yeah, but she's like, I liked that movie. And I was like, yeah, see?
They reused this shot in the movie a few times. Like, they really want to showcase this shot of Emily Blunt's oily muscles because she's pretty jacked in this movie.
As she's doing Upward Dog or Cobra or whatever that is, the yoga.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Don't ruin this for me, Corey.
I do like, too, now that you say it was a manga, that makes more sense because, like, why does she have a sword? It's so dumb. But then, like, it's also cool.
Her tits are way too small. Sorry, I don't have any interest in manga and anime and stuff, so I make fun of it whenever I can.
Yeah, there you go. That's true. It's not a direct adaptation, I'm sure.
It's not. She's definitely not equipped enough.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She does have a giant sword, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
She has a giant anime sword, which is another factor in this movie that I like, is that Tom Cruise's fighting style when he gets trained is way different than hers. Right? She's kind of like an up close and like agility based combat style. She's very smooth and fluid, and he's kind of like brute force and like punching the damn things with his mech suit.
Yeah. He's more like he doesn't have the skill sets to do what she does, so he just works within the simple ones.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Emily Blunt was excellent in this. She is the perfect, like, kind of femme fatale. No, not femme fatale, but like, she's sexy, but like, she is a soldier badass, no time for you, like, kind of thing. I think it's the best adaptation of like when people want to see representation in an action film of like how you bring a female into a very male dominated like space. She did it perfectly. She maintains like her femininity and stuff, but she's a badass through and through, but she's not like better than everybody else. She's just a good soldier, you know? And that character is so perfect. I wish I could just transplant that character into so many other action films.
They do a good job at making her very desirable too. Mm-hmm. Because she has this like, I don't give a fuck about you attitude.
Yeah.
And I know this sounds like kind of Neanderthal of me, but like it kind of makes you, the audience, I think, feel the way that Tom Cruise feels about her.
Yeah.
Like he's like into her like right away, I think. Like you kind of get that vibe, and she just doesn't want any of it.
Well, and like they do enough at teasing her too. Like there's a lore behind her, but that you don't know. Like she's the hero, angel of Verdun or whatever. But she's got like this posse with like Punisher skulls. And I'm like, who are they? They look badass. They all die. But
well, so does she at the beginning without her power. Like she dies real quick, you know, when she doesn't have the ability to reset the day, despite all her training.
And that's why I like it, is like it's like her reputation precedes her. Like she just so happened to get infected by alpha blood, and but like then she takes that and uses it to her advantage. That's why I like that idea so much. She's not special. She's just kind of lucky, and then she's just the most equipped because she uses her time to the best advantage to get trained and know what to do. So I really like that twist of these characters a lot.
I have another issue to bring up, and I'll be curious to see how you guys feel about it. The science guy. So there's a guy that used to work as a scientist at Whitehall. but he was called crazy and sent to the salt mines. And he's been helping Emily Blunt. I don't know exactly how they came together, but they're a team, and they're the only ones that know about this. It leads into that thing where, like, I just don't believe that when these crazy hedgehog aliens that are unstoppable are blitzing through Europe, that generals are going to be like, oh, they control time? You're crazy. Kill him. Get him out of here. Like, I feel like they would entertain it, especially since he didn't just come out of nowhere with it, you know?
Well, she does talk about how she's tried numerous times to explain her powers, and they dissect her or they lock her up. And that's kind of that's like the plot Band-Aid to kind of make this about them. Like, well, they're going to dissect me, which is probably, but that's the whole arrival conversation, right? Are they really going to be an asshole and lock you up when they could use your technology to save the world? I don't know.
That part I believe. It's the little like stabby thing in the thigh that lets you see it. I kind of wish they would have done more. Like the longer you're with the blood, the more you start to see through the eyes of the monster, and it knows it too. Kind of like this. Like, did that happen in Lord of the Rings? I've seen it before, where like you're sharing a mind, but the other mind knows you're there.
Harry Potter.
So, yes. Yeah, very Voldemort-esque. I do think that would have been a better route than like break into Whitehall to get the special needle that helps you see. Like, but that's me.
I do like Brendan Gleeson though, and I like the confrontation with him, so it's kind of worth it for that.
I do like it too, and he's like, we've had this conversation thousands of times, and you never listen.
And like that's what it takes to convince him. He's like, look, man, you're stubborn as hell. Every time this happens, she just shoots you. Like, are we just gonna have to come to that again?
And how he's not fazed by the fact that he's talking to a future person. He's like,
Well, he's
kill
Brendan
him.
Gleeson. Brendan Gleeson's emotions always, I don't like you.
I'm going to insert the Banshees thing here. I just don't like you anymore.
Well, why would you do that when you have In Bruges?
That's true. You could just have him keep calling people a cunt.
His emotions are, I don't like you, and isn't this a beautiful little town?
Yeah.
Last thing I have to add is it's nice seeing Bill Paxton. It was nice seeing him. I was like, oh, cool, aliens. It's cool seeing Bill
R.I.P.
Paxton. Yeah.
What a great addition to this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, perfectly played drill sergeant type. Like, he's got that, like, and maybe Shane can speak more of this, but he's got that, like, drill sergeant, like, comedy to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where they're, like, kind of, like, so, like, cruel. It's funny. Like, and the way they say things is funny.
Gonna make you eat
and then the way
cards.
he reacts to Tom Cruise, like, finishing his sentences and shit.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the outside perspective on what military can do. Because it's very, like, maybe back in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, like, they could get away with shit, but, like, I would love to just see the shit show that would come if a superior made someone eat cards. Like, the whole unit would be liquefied and disbanded. Like, you know, and it would be framed as like, oh, he did it because he was racist. Like, it would just be the biggest shit show to ever happen to the unit. Like, you can't even insult people anymore the way it is. Like, not this is some woke spiel. It's just like
reality.
The rules that people think the military operates under aren't what we think. They're much tighter than people would imagine. Some would say suffocating.
Shane's a 2-star general. He knows what he's talking about.
As a former 2-star general. Disgraced.
He would have been
2-star.
president if it wasn't for the gout.
Yeah.
I thought it was your shin splints you had a numb.
I just watched Scent of a Woman, so I was a lieutenant colonel, but I was juggling hand grenades and blinded myself.
I hate that fucking movie. Korey, anything else to add to bring in for Edge of Tomorrow since it was your pick?
No, I mean, I think that covers it. Overall, I'd say definitely watch this movie if you haven't seen it. It's what I would call like a great action sci-fi movie that's a lot of fun, really punchy, and a great premise. And a great premise goes a long way in movies like this.
Yeah, I would say I haven't had this much fun in a sci-fi action since like Starship Troopers for other reasons and Aliens. Like those two kind of tickle the same bug that I get when I watch this.
You guys haven't seen The Adventures of Pluto Nash, have you then?
Good Lord.
I'm going to watch Valerian, City of 1,000 Planets.
Another Luc Besson classic.
Yeah. Okay. I guess to wrap this up here, should we discuss which approach should we take to stopping the aliens? Which movie do you think, how can we sell the president? Which movie should we put forward to the president to
What's our battle plan?
What's our battle plan here to stop the alien invasion?
First of all, what assumption are we operating under that the aliens are? Are they like blow everybody up kind of aliens? Are they like Tomorrow War aliens / Edge of Tomorrow? More I watch it, more Tomorrow War is just a complete rip of Edge of Tomorrow in the shittiest way.
I would say the aliens are down to fuck, so they're here to at least procreate. I don't know if their intentions.
You're just trying to get us to talk to these aliens and get naked with them.
There he goes.
There you go.
Homeboy who fucked the Martian.
Ronnie's like, hear me out. We could procreate with them.
Okay, I don't know. In all likelihood, if aliens came to our planet, they'd probably be ashamed of us. They'd probably wouldn't want to murder us. But I think it's more fun to go to murdering them. The aliens are here to fuck us and kill us all.
They'll
what do you
view
think,
us
Korey?
the way of the dodo. Just to extinction because of how pathetic we are.
What do you think, Korey? What's the best?
Well, if the aliens are here to fuck us and kill us all, I say we stick Joe Biden in a jet and just send him in there with the drunkest guys we can find.
Now, this is our Christmas day.
Listen here, Jack. This is Christmas, Jack.
I've seen some hairy legs, and Pappy said that we're gonna get them.
1954, I saw an alien with corn pop, Jack.
And then Trump is actively siding with the aliens.
He's gonna make a deal.
He's trying to sell them classified documents. Oh God. So
I really hope aliens never show up. At least within my lifetime. I think it would be pretty evident to any like advanced life observing humanity that we are not ready for alien contact.
No.
Right?
They'd be like, oh.
That's why in Star Trek there's clear like first contact protocols. Like the society, the planet as a whole has to be ready to receive contact from alien life. Our whole fucking world would be destroyed. We'd either like just try to nuke them and kill ourselves, or we'd start a war with them, or we just freak out. Maybe we don't even fight them, but like humanity just crushes itself under like the pressure and anxiety of the presence of aliens. It would be so fucking bad, dude. It would be a disaster.
It reminds me
Just
of...
think how the Earth came together over COVID, and now make it a sentient thing that is operating and changing and has its own set of goals. You know? And watch us crumble.
I always just think about now is like Futurama, just like Zap Brannigan, just saying like, "Oh yeah, we'll destroy the aliens. We surrender." Like immediately be a traitor.
We surrender. Death by Snoo Snoo. You know what? I'd have more faith if that's just how we went. We were just Zap Brannigan, where we're just completely selfish and just we surrender. We serve you.
How'd you win the Battle of Tanakh? Oh, I kept putting millions upon millions of soldiers and dying, and eventually we clogged up their guns, and they all had to surrender.
Oof. Okay. I think we stick to the Independence Day route because it'll confuse the aliens when we fly one of their ships in somehow. They're already impressed that somehow we've piloted technology we don't understand. But then they're confused by us trying to insert a floppy disk into their technology because we've put malware on it. Or the aliens are like, click here for singles in your area. Like, okay.
I was thinking of going one step forward and we go the Chinese route. We give them an app called TikTok, and then from there we learn about all their cultural things, and then we tear them down from within. We go Chinese route.
We bring them down to our
like
level.
Jeff Goldblum.
Yes. Jeff Goldblum.
They look at their computer monitor and they see like a skull, like in Independence Day.
Yeah.
just in case they didn't get what is happening is bad.
Jeff Goldblum prepared an animation for that.
You didn't say the magic word.
Oh God.
Oh
my.
That would have been better.
Hold on to your butts.
Oh my God, Shane, get us the fuck out of here. Let Korey hawk his wares first, but get us the fuck out of here.
Well, we've brought you experts in. The president has taken your advice. And unfortunately, what we're going to go with is that it was actually a misunderstanding. There are no comets coming. It was just one of Elon Musk's satellites misinterpreting. So it was a smudge on the lens. We're all going to survive. Now we just have to survive the shithole that is the Earth now, once everyone learned that aliens were coming to defeat us all. Buy stocks.
And Tesla.
Yeah. Also, I made a lot of money because I bet against the market when the aliens came. So I am your god. The end.
Okay, fucking shit. Korey, thank you so much for joining us and using your afternoon to talk with us about space invasion movies. Can you tell us more about what you do that's of higher quality?
Absolutely. Before I do that, I just have to give Shane an apology.
What have you done?
Shane, I am sorry. You guys did a podcast. I don't remember what episode it was, and you said The Flash is going to flop. And I scoffed. I scoffed at that comment. I think it was the Batman episode, actually. Yeah. And I was thinking, man, Shane is so detached from reality. This movie's going to make $1 billion. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And here we are. And you're not even rubbing it in my face. You're a good man, Shane.
I didn't tell him. I didn't tell him, Korey.
Just overestimated when the exhaustion would come for like Disney. And I think it's finally happening. I just said it way too early.
No.
Maybe so.
That's hilarious.
But not even
nice
Keaton
to be humble.
could save it. Yeah. And it's funny because I think that I would like Ezra Miller on this podcast. I think he'd bring in some interesting stuff.
Waste Potential Podcast in no way agrees with what Shane just said.
Nah, you don't need Ezra.
His rap sheet is so long that like it's just funny that they decided to go with it. Like there's actors that have been cut from films deeper into production than him, and yet he somehow like ran the gauntlet and got his movie made.
Well,
I don't know how, but this is what we need. We need more of these films to not do well. It's our only hope.
All that being said, Guardians 3 came out 2 months ago and it made $835 million. So maybe they're not all doing bad.
And we're back.
I'm Korey. I represent the Big Dumb Movie Podcast. It's a podcast like this one where we talk about movies we like, movies we don't like. Over there, we cover your Terminators, your RoboCops, your Howard the Ducks, your Heavyweights, your Little Giants, classic kids' 90s movies. Sometimes I have these clowns over. Ronnie likes to come on more often than Shane for some reason. We talked
He doesn't
about
even
The Kid and
fucking
King.
tell me. You asshole, you've been sneaking away to other podcasts.
I'm a whore.
We talked about A Kid in King Arthur's Court with Ronnie recently. That's one of my more recent episodes. I'd recommend checking that one out. Or an episode featuring both of these guys called Face Off, which was a lot of fun. Recently got blocked from YouTube, but I fought it and now it's back. So check me out at Big Dumb Movie. I'm also on Instagram. You might like what you hear.
I love movies. The only movie podcast I listen to is Big Dumb Movie because it's insightful, but it's also really funny. And so check them out for sure.
That's true. I just listened to Dennis the Menace. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Dennis is truly a menace. And tortures
Switchblade Sam is a real menace.
geriatric people.
Oh my God. Shane, let's get the fuck out of here.
Well, see y'all for the next premise that pops into my head. I don't know when this will get edited and put out, but hopefully the world is still here and not invaded by aliens. And if so, maybe we provide the answer to defeat them. Thanks for coming on, Korey. Appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Ronnie, you can fuck yourself. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Wasted Potential Podcast.
Okay, hold on. No, stop again.
Wait, never mind.
Stop.
Let me start.
You are not going to start, like, sighing. Don't sigh when you open the goddamn podcast.
All right.
We're keeping the recording going, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I want to restart this anyways.
We're saving that for the end.
All right.